listening to the 200th episode of the Mountainside Podcast, and we are joined by Mountainside fan favorite and one of my best friends, Donnie Dust, is helping us bring in the 200th episode. It has been an absolute amazing journey. We are going on 5 years, which is unbelievable. I remember at one point not even thinking we were going to reach 50 episodes, and here we are at episode 200. Over 4 years of just absolute savages sitting across from me. I'm truly grateful, blessed, and honored to have such a loyal fan base, incredible guests, sponsors, an unbelievable crew. Thank you all so much. What a way to bring in 2025 with the 200th episode. Let's go. Thank you for listening. All right, episode 200.
200.
Donnie Dust in the house. No better way to bring it in. Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year, indeed, to you.
Thanks for the gift.
My pleasure. Enjoy. Some agave tequila.
That is good, man.
Right on.
Straight out of Mexico.
Mexico, yeah, the Mexicans.
Dude, I love tequila. How'd you know?
Well,
I think you've seen me drink a little bit of it.
I see everything that's over there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out on a guess here.
Yeah.
But,
Well, the Bison Butcher, I think we killed a bottle that night. I didn't even realize it.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I know everyone woke up a little bit rough the next morning, being like, all right, what else we got to do? And there was intestines and stomach and everything everywhere.
The bone marrow helped.
The bone marrow always helps.
That was the first time I'd ever eaten raw bone marrow.
It's not bad.
It was killer.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's like the size of a banana coming out of the leg of the bison. You just scoop it out and eat it. I mean, it's better than paying like $100 to have it cut in half and then simmered and grilled. No thanks, just eat it raw. Puts it on your chest.
Yeah, it was. That was a new experience for me. It was fucking super rad, though.
Well, we're gonna do it. I think we got another one lined up in June, so this will be a smaller bison. I'm not sure if we're going to do the. I know, Bobby, come up again. All right, man. And then this one was 2,400 pounds, but this one, just talking with Jim and Julie, it's going to be around like 1,300 pounds. So, possibly the class. We might film it in a different capacity, like we talked about it before. There's a company V6 Media out in Utah that's done a lot of like hunting videos, and I've done some stuff with. So there's. Slowly working, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it requires, months and months of planning. I'm kind of shoot from the hip. But I was like, well, he knows what he's doing when it comes to setting this up and setting that up. I'm like, we'll get back.
The best part was you gave the spiel because it was a class, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, make sure you don't cut yourself. Who was the first person to cut themselves?
Yeah, you.
Me.
And then it was the second, me. I had that gash in my finger, and I'm taping it up. And I was like, oh, my God, this is horrible.
Back when I used to tour, like the stages got, as I grew in production, the stages got crazier and crazier where they had all these lifts like integrated in them and stuff.
No bueno.
And we had this one carpenter, Joe, that he would always give a spiel to like all the local stagehands. He's like, there's a hole here, don't make sure you don't fall in the hole. He fell in the hole more than anybody ever did. But it was gnarly. It'd be like a 6 foot, 8 foot straight to the concrete or the ice, like
jeez. And that's where like those holes where you put like pyrotechnics and all sorts of like people.
A lot of them were like I was a hydraulic carp when I was out with Rihanna.
Right on.
And we had shit. I mean, we had a conveyor belt, and then we had their hydraulic lifts. Oh. So we were traveling around with hydraulic pumps.
No kidding.
And these huge hydraulic lines that and they're meant to like bring aircraft up into wind tunnels.
But she's standing on it, like rising.
Yeah, and then you have like a little. It's so Spinal Tap. Like
that's cool though.
But it was wild, man. It was a crazy show. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I almost cut a security guard's leg off one time.
Nice. What the heck?
We had, the freaks would come out for her, because she was just a bombshell.
Yeah.
And we had a stage jumper one night. Okay. And one of the security guards, this badass motherfucker, jumped up on the stage and started hauling ass across, but I was bringing my lift up at the time. I was returning it to stage height.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I just see this leg come shooting out, and there's no, when it's hydraulics, there's no emergency stop.
Yeah.
So I was just, started turning the valve, and luckily it, pinched his leg in there, but it never got far enough to, break skin or bone, but, he had a bruise.
That's no joke.
It was crazy. Yeah, he bought me a bottle of Grey Goose after that. He's like, dude, thanks for not cutting my leg off. I was like, fuck, dude, I'm glad I didn't.
Oh, my God, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different world. I mean, all the stuff that you've done, which has been years of you, I mean, between concerts and shows, like all the planning on that, I mean, that's like a whole completely different world compared to that a lot of us see on behalf of the Mountainside podcast, like how we see you. And you're between hunting and the outdoors. It's like a complete...
I don't bring it up very often.
No, you don't.
I don't like to be the guy to like brag about it or anything. You know, like if it fits into the story.
Yeah, but you're not a bragger. You would never be like, oh, you know, I was at a Riri concert, because that's what people call it, right? Riri.
I think so.
Bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
You do know.
I just,
you know.
I don't know. I mean, her and I are friends. Like, we become friends. Like, when she's awesome, man. So I was on tour with Kanye West, and she was an opening act.
Okay.
And they needed somebody to, like, help get her on and off the stage. And since I was playing, like, a little bit of stage manager carp on that, they were like, hey, would you mind? It's kind of a way to make some extra money when you're out there. And what am I going to do? Go take a nap on the bus? So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So that's how I got to know her. And then that comfortability just grew to where when she started hitting like the mainstream and really got big, then I was the guy or one of the guys, you know, of 100 people crew. But I kind of followed her through the progression of her career.
So you had like a rapport with her over time through like, you working with her, like, I want Bobby because he knows kind of my history as far as...
she liked hanging out with me. I could talk her off a ledge, you know, like literally. Like we did this billboard thing with her where I had to like... I brought in one of my stunt buddies that was like a Spider-Man stuntman, or he was Spider-Man in the very first movies, like flying through the buildings in New York or whatever. Cool. This dude, Rocky Dickey, shout out. Fucking awesome guy.
Rocky Dickey, shout out.
Yeah. But... yeah, she had won like a billboard or something along those lines. And so she was performing at billboards or something. So they wanted, I don't know what the gag was, but they wanted her to basically fall out of a tree backwards onto like not a very big crash pad. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah, so like coaching her through that. And you know,
see, that's all. Nobody ever gets to see this. We never get to hear about this. Maybe today's interview, I interview you about.
Oh shit! I
don't
know.
Things.
Well, 200. This is the 200th episode. So
is.
like, this is what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years now. You know, so like my identity's kind of changed. But
well, I mean, that's part of the evolution of man. Like everyone changes. You're not the same person you were 4 years ago, 5, 10, 15. You know, in that kind of evolution, you get new jobs, you get new tasks, you come across new people. I mean, you know, Riri, that's pretty bad. What about T-Swift? Break it down.
No real interactions with her. Although I've done like some of her shows. Like it's weird now because I work more on the private side of stuff. So like if a corporation wants to hire an artist for a private show or for their expo, like to perform for their employees or clients.
Okay.
It's kind of that facility. So it's like a lot of times those bands are already on tour. So I'm dealing with their production. Then when they get there, it's just like, is everything set up on the rider the right way from the dressing rooms to what they need on stage?
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a little bit different. So like that's the only way that I've ever really dealt with her is in that capacity.
So within that capacity, as you're speaking of, you have all these different moving pieces, and the performer, singer, songwriter, whatever the case may be, is pretty much the focus of it all, right? Obviously, because they're performing the show.
Yeah.
Now, out of all of them that you come across, you don't have to tell us who, but give us a description, maybe like the worst.
Oh, dude, I got it already.
Lay it out. Who?
It was my mom's favorite band of all time.
Oh God,
so, classic rock. Classic rock. I'll tell you.
Okay.
And I basically got fired and quit all at the same time. But just not nice people.
Who?
You know?
What?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I'll bleep that out.
No way.
You're breaking my mom's heart right now.
Oh, dude. Like all the vinyl that I listened to of
really?
Like, was it Stranger of Love or what was that? Yeah. That was like one of my favorite songs as a kid. I was like, I just loved, 4 years old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I loved that record, know, that probably forged me to treat women not so great at times later in my life. But yeah, so it was kind of like, it was funny when I first got the gig, I got called up because somebody was hurt or something. So it was like, the tour was already like started and going. So I said yes before I even got the NDA. And like some of these artists, you have to sign NDAs. Sure. And when I was reading the NDA, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Really? What was on it?
Like all kinds of crazy shit. Like no looking in the eyes. Like I understand that.
Wait. You couldn't look at them in their eyes.
No, but it was even worse than that.
What the fuck? So fucking people, dude.
I'll have to tell you some of this off of mic because I don't want to. I got a bunch of buddies and friends that still work for them, so I don't want to. Like,
we won't compromise it. In their futures. Bobby spills a beans.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I don't know. Anyways, some shit went down. A guy that was working like under me, they tread like total shit like in front of me. So I said something like right out of the gate. Like, hey, don't fucking talk to him like that. Like, he's just here he's here helping you. You know, like type
is
of
this
thing.
talent that's talking to him like that, or is it
management and talent at the same time, which was even worse.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Stand up for him.
So it quickly turned into a fuck you, no fuck you. And then it was like, I started walking out.
No kidding.
And, because I didn't really have ties to it, I guess. It was like it was one show. So anyways, prior to that, I'd called my mom and like, you'll never believe who I'm going on tour with. Like, you're going to be so proud of me. Like, you're going to finally understand that I made it, you know, like that kind of.
5 hours later, I'm in jail and I need your help.
Literally, I went to the airport. I was getting phone calls at the airport.
Really?
Like, hey, will you come back? We're sorry. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm buying my own flight. I'm out of here. Like, it was
crazy.
It was bad.
That's crazy.
Bad one. And that just ruins the deal, you know?
Yeah.
And then I've had so many that I've worked for that their public figure is just so bad and so rotten and just like not a good person.
Yeah.
But they're the best people in the world, man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's kind of like hanging out with the Hells Angels sometimes. Like, like some of those guys.
I mean, bad rap, but how much money do they donate to kids' charities, Toys for... I mean, they do a lot of different things, I guess you could say, to give to local communities. I mean, what is it when, fallen soldier, Marine, sailor comes home, they're usually escorts. I mean, there's quite a bit that they do, but they get that bad rap, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's all in how the media portrays them. And
well, I mean, organized crime is not good. I'm not touting that, you know what I mean? But like, there's something about standing up for yourself too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's just kind of, I don't know. I guess that's what I did in that situation. It was just like, I don't care how much money you're paying me, or like.
At least you can walk away with your head, held high. You're like, I did the right thing. When everyone else was turning their heads, looking this way, looking that way, you're like, I did the right thing. Might have cost me this gig, whatever. I still have.
I've had other artists do like shitty things to me, but not like that. Yeah. Not like be totally so degrading, like disrespectful. But
God,
yeah.
If you were you would have been NJP'd like 1,200 times if you were in the military. A non-judicial punishment, because sometimes you get like, young officers or, just talking smack, and they're fresh out of like officer candidates going, like, God, all I want to do is like wrap this guy right across the face, And he's like, let me tell you everything. You're like, look, dude, we've been doing this for a while. This is my first war. And he's like, nah, let me tell you. I'm like, all right, shut up, get out of here.
Right.
It's part of it, but
they call those cake eaters or something, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I'll tell you what. But no, I mean it's interesting because I think a lot of people, they go to those shows and they see those sort of things, but they really don't know everything that's involved to put one of them on. They just kind of get the front side view, but I imagine it's going on for days, preparing and planning, and
dude, it's crazy.
And like, he downplays it.
Oh, I know. I know he's downplaying.
Because what I do is a very, very, very small, little tiny thing like Bobby did forever, and he's been around the world 1,000 times.
Yeah. Whatever. Jeremy brought us a flag from the White House that's hanging in here. Dude.
I've done
just
some
little
I've
shit,
done some cool shit too. But he's so humble, and every once in a while something will slip, and I'm like, you did what? What the fuck?
The coolest shit that I ever did, though, like the highlights of my career, was Super Bowl 50 was awesome because I did the halftime show for a lot of years.
Right on.
And then being the interactions that I got to have with the military, whether it was USO or like we did a 60-year anniversary of the Air Force where I got to go on like a bunch of active Air Force bases. Nice. I don't think it was every Air Force base in the U.S., but dude, it was like a 6-month tour where we were just going base to base and building this structure, and then like all the red tape that we had to just to bring the equipment into the base because it's still active.
For sure.
And like getting to go on Andrew's Air Force Base and Luke and
I mean, I know
cool.
just when I started, I remember being like in Okinawa at one point and like there was like an AC/DC girls cover band that was there. And like,
Hell's Bells, dude. They're badass.
I think it was them.
They're fucking badass, dude. I love AC/DC.
Well, that's me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like every Marine on that base was like, I think I got a chance. And it's like, no, there's no way. But those sort of shows, like,
right.
I mean, if there's something like that going on, I can't tell you how many like dudes are like, yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. I mean, what else are we gonna do? I mean,
well, that was the best part about it is like we were rock stars in our own right.
Yeah.
Like coming on the base because they're so used to just like I think being on base and just having the kind of the same, not the same day, but like there's just not a lot of civilians that can just walk on into a flight line or meet a general or you know stand outside of Air Force One's hangar. We were never in it, but it's cool, man. It must be. I think that's him. Yeah, they're fucking awesome, man. I've seen them a couple times.
Yeah. Okay. Hell's Bells. I think that was them.
What's the coolest concert you've ever been to? Like, stands out in your mind.
I mean, I think when I was into my like punk phase, when I was like 18, 19, I saw Social Distortion, which was pretty good. I enjoyed that when there was still that like light moshing, and this was in Hawaii.
Mike Ness is fucking man, too.
I loved Social Distortion. That was pretty good. I think as of lately,
you saw him in Hawaii. Is that
saw him in
when
Hawaii.
You were on base?
No, this was it was off base, a smaller venue, and like there was a lot of people there, but it was kind of like a certain kind of punk crowd, I guess you could say. And I was like, oh man, I'm 100% in. And you know, you remember the beginning of the night, you don't remember the end of the night. Something's bruised on your face and your body. And you're like, God, what a great show. But I mean, as of lately, there's Missy and I went to Red Clay Strays.
Okay.
Down in Red Rocks.
Not familiar. Red Rocks is awesome.
Yeah. It was, I mean, one, it was Red Rocks, but it was a Turnpike Troubadours who's kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
So like.
I like that. I kind of like that red dirt country.
Yeah. And that's what Red Clay Strays, I'll tell you what, like.
Okay.
They are an awesome band. And I think they're coming back to Red Rocks as the headliner. And I'm like, we got to go. Because it's like, it brings back like that Lynyrd Skynyrd, CCR, Buffalo Springfield, some of that like hillbilly Vietnam sort of just good rock. Where you're like, oh man, there's like words behind it and there's meaning behind those. It's just, it comes together so nice. And I'm a fan. Absolutely. So that's kind of like the most recent one that we've done. So
I'll have to check those guys out.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, it's there's so many. The punk shows though, like growing up, like that really like forged my love of music. That's how I started in the music industry.
So yeah, so if that was kind of your intro, like was there kind of like specifics into the music as far as punk music or like NoFX, MXPX, like what were those like top 4 or 5 bands that really dove, head first into that kind of Bobby's mind of this is what I want to do. I want to do something in music.
I kind of liked it all.
Really?
Like not so much rap or hip hop.
Yeah.
But like metal, thrash metal.
Okay.
I was a bad kid. Let's just put it that way. Growing up here in the mountains, it's weird because it was a lot smaller community than it is now. So like the school ages were a little bit different. Like now my kid's elementary school goes to 5th grade, but we had like 6th grade there. Yeah. So then there was like this junior high phase. But I was growing up like right at the time where LA was like a really, really bad place. And you growing up in Colorado, you kind of probably know this too.
Yeah.
So we had this huge like influx of people moving from California to here.
And it's still happening.
And their kids going to school. And most of their kids were into like punk rock and skating and
SoCal
surf culture and like kind of that West Coast punk. Mm-hmm. So I guess at 3rd grade, I was like super into like thrash metal, like Metallica Kill 'Em All is still like one of my favorite albums. So like that's kind of got some punk influence to it a little bit. And then Slayer. Undisputed Aggression is like one of my favorite punk albums of all time. It's them doing punk covers, but it's more Slayer on the metal side of it, right? But then I was also into like some not so cool shit now, like what was that band? Skid Row.
Skid
That
Row.
18 in life, you got it. You know, like those ballady
But I mean,
songs.
they played monster ballads, big hair.
Yeah.
They do their thing. Everyone was influenced from those like metal,
like
hair
Dr.
bands.
Feelgood from Motley Crue. You know,
Yeah.
like that was a
For sure.
Kickstart My Heart or something like that. I think
That album's awesome.
Pour some sugar
Dude,
on me.
that was the first music video that I ever saw. I turned on, we got cable TV. I don't even know how we got it because we were dirt ass poor, and our TV still had like the
knobs.
Yeah. But we got cable TV, and the very first moment I turned on MTV, it was going out of like a Pepsi commercial or something.
Yeah.
And it was Kickstart My Heart.
No
and it was like, dude, pull up that video. We can't play the music, but like, dude, it was like drag cars and strippers and like
chicks doing this on the tops of like hoods, and you're like, oh my god, what?
Yeah, I was like,
I'm feeling something. Yeah. Oh man,
I was like, this is fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
So I had in the third grade, I vividly remember I had like a black jean jacket
Look at
that I cut the sleeves off of, and I just started sewing patches on.
Nice.
Like I would mail order the patches from the back of the record or whatever, or the back of the album, however I'd get it. And
Sam Kinison.
is this Kickstart Your Heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good tour.
Yeah. So anyways, I was kind of into that. But then as those California kids started to come along, they were like, hey, have you ever listened to Black Flag or the Dead Kennedys? Or like, you know, they started giving me East Coast and like West Coast, like 7 Seconds. I don't know if you remember that band. So they were kind of hardcore.
Yeah.
And then I became a big fan of Pennywise. But like the first concert I ever went to, punk concert, was at the Ogden.
Okay.
I paid like $3.
Oh shit.
I saw Agnostic Front, Dead Kennedys, Alkaline Trio. There was a bunch of bands on that bill. And it was like sweat dripping off the ceiling and like moshing. And I was just like, okay, now I get it. Because whenever I would get handed those like cassettes or whatever, I'd be like, man, this sounds like garbage. Because I was used to listening to like
live
produced music,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the punk was like kind of like grungy and didn't sound that good unless you went to a show. Then you understood and you're like, okay, now I can appreciate the...
Yeah. Punk music is an environmental. Like, it's the entire environment brings on the entire, like, you know, essence of the song and the sweat. Yeah. I hear you on that. Unfortunately for me, having 2 older sisters, I was pretty familiar with, like, Duran Duran, Cyndi Lauper, just, you know, I mean, Paula Abdul, and then
Oh, dude.
all classics. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of
She might have been
songs.
my first crush, I think.
But it was a different sort because, you know, they were, God, I mean, they're older than me by like 8-9 years. So like when I was younger and they would drive me to baseball practice or whatever the case, they would put on their music and I would listen to it. But once they left the house, I went to college. Then I kind of got, you know, introduced to when I would say kind of the music that I would like to listen to. And there was, everyone liked Metallica and I mean, it just moves. Like, I was a big fan of Pantera, big fan of Hatebreed.
Pantera's the shit,
You know?
dude.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
let's
can't,
go.
like, Vulgar Display is probably one of my top ones, Vulgar Display of Power. But, I mean, music is music. And I think, like, there could be a day where I'm going to go on a run or, you know, I'm just driving in the car. Like, the music has, like, different, some days I want, like, straight, like, kind of like hip-hop rap music because it's like, all right, you know, what are we doing, guys? We got, you know, we're going camping. Let's listen to something to get us amped up. And you kind of come up and then you come down. And it's, I mean, I enjoy music. And Missy is the one where she has introduced me to a whole different world of music of like EDM and like this techno stuff. And like sometimes we'll drive and there's very few words, but I just feel this bass like thumping in my chest and in my ass. And then when the music stops, it's like, oh my God, what just happened? Like everything just kind of settles. But I mean, I'm a fan of music, man.
I am too, man. I like it all.
Yeah.
I think it really like sets the mood.
Yeah.
And honestly, like no matter what, or if I'm in a bad mood or if I'm having a bad, I can turn on a song and it'll change my psyche.
For sure.
Like I always have music normally when somebody walks in. You showed up early today, but normally I have music, like walk-in music, you know, like that's a thing. Like they do that at concerts. Like they put on walk-in music so you don't walk into silence. Like,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even like, I think it was Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. Like, it's
classic,
That's
right?
what I mean. Like sometimes I'll hear a song and it brings me to a place like the first time I hear it, or I listen to it like again and again and again. And it's just like, oh man, That's classic. Hell yeah. I know where I'm at now.
I love music so much that I relate movies to it, like the soundtracks.
Yeah.
So like some of my favorite movies of all time have these incredible soundtracks. Like The Devil's Rejects, man.
Good one.
Unbelievable soundtrack.
I'm going to have to watch it now.
Yeah, the movie's wild, dude.
Yeah.
It's Rob Zombie. It's like serial killers, but it's like a comedy level to it and just really dark.
All right.
But it's good.
It's good music.
But him being an artist
Rob
picked
Zombie.
out the soundtrack, and it's all like, dude, I will never listen to Freebird and not think of that movie.
No kidding.
Like it's literally like
Really?
a 7 or 8 minute scene
No kidding.
where they're playing Freebird, and it is fucking bad.
Just hacking people out. Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
it gets wild.
That's cool.
And then Sympathy for the Devil.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Fear?
Yeah. With Mark Wahlberg and
Is Wahlberg in that?
like Reese Witherspoon. They're like young.
No.
Fear?
No, I'm sorry. It's Denzel Washington and John Goodman. The Fallen.
The Fall. Yeah. Time.
yeah.
He's on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song. I will never. It's not Fear. It's I don't know how I got that screwed up. I think it's Fallen.
I think it's Fallen. Yeah. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I think we watched that recently.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah. And the dude, like, they touch someone and his like spirit goes into the next person.
Yeah, it's the devil, dude.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's totally true.
it's crazy. And what other movie ends like that? You remember how it ended?
I
don't want to spoil it for people, but
I don't remember. No.
yeah, it's not your typical ending. So most movies have a feel good ending.
Yeah.
This one does not.
See, I like
it's
movies
like,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah, there it is.
yeah.
We
Fallen.
we started
That's
that.
a classic. You ever seen that, Jeremy?
No.
Oh, you got to watch it.
Dude, I don't like scary shit.
It's-
I don't
it's
like
not
disturbing stuff. I don't like.
It's disturbing.
I got enough stuff in my head.
But it's also the era of movie because when we watched like half of it, like Denzel Washington is wearing like a big baggy suit. Like he's a cop, but it's got like pleated pants. And he's just like all shoulder pads in his jacket.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, this is from a different era for
Yeah,
sure.
like definite that '90s like kind of
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson era.
yeah,
almost,
yeah.
dude. Crazy.
It's good.
What about you, Jeremy? What was your first, like, because you grew up BMXing and like that sort of stuff, like just music in general.
Well, I was just thinking about how now that we're older and we're all sitting here talking about how much we like everything and how much when you're a kid, your identity was tied to what you listened to.
Oh, totally.
I don't listen to that shit.
Yeah.
You know, no, those dudes listen to that. I listen.
I
to
still
this.
feel that way about some bands.
Some stuff.
Yeah.
Some stuff. You're like, no, you're not allowed to like it.
Yeah,
But no,
like Nickelback. They make good music, but like
Nickelback,
it's
man.
not cool, dude. It's not cool.
I'll totally take a hit, man. I mean, everyone hears a Nickelback song and they're like, no one's looking. Look at this photo. You know, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck.
but yeah, man, I kind of had that that BMX punk thing.
Yeah,
There was a place called City Gardens in Trenton, New Jersey. What's his name? John Stewart was actually the bartender there.
No kidding.
That's where he it was like his first gig. But we used to go there and God, you ran into all those bands. And I was like I like ska, like when I was a kid.
yeah.
okay.
So, man, I saw the Boss Tones there. Like
Boston.
Oh,
like
dude, they're
5
fucking
times. They were so
awesome, man.
much fun. I
Yeah.
just had so much fun every time I was there. I can't even think of who else I saw there. Probably saw like 20 shows there. But yeah, it was that punk stuff. And I know what you mean where you're like, my friend would hand me a tape and say, hey, this is so-and-so. And I'd listen to it and I'm like, how am I supposed to like this? But then you go to a show and you went, oh, got it.
Yeah.
You know, you went there and kind of got
Then the
tuned up a
album
little
takes you
bit.
back to a point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Almost.
totally.
It's
Yeah.
like,
And then just going and seeing. Now you did a bunch of Warped tours, right?
yeah. I mean, I worked with a bunch of artists. I didn't do a bunch.
Because that always came through in the summertime.
That was a
Warped
shitty tour, man. To
Camden.
be on,
Yeah.
like.
Oh, I can't even.
And when I
imagine.
was going to punk shows, it was before it got like that Warped Tour made it escalate to like something that made it mainstream, I guess.
Yeah,
at that
I
point.
think they called it 7-Up punk.
yeah,
Like a little bit more, peppy, not as like
like your Blink 182
Yeah.
and all that sort of
7-Up
stuff.
punk, if I recall.
It was really cool, man, because through the music industry, I'd become friends with some of the guys from Pennywise. It was one of the reasons why I like moved to Hermosa Beach,
Nice.
and then it was close to what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed the beach vibe. But the lead singer, Jim Lindberg, later on in his career, you know, is kind of like, fuck, man, I'm tired of getting on fucking planes and buses. And like, those are actual like working bands, man. Like, some of these bigger artists have it so cush, man. Like, but to be like a punk guy and be like 60 years old and like trying to,
for sure,
they're still doing it, you know? But like,
but, I mean,
it's just a different animal to go out and do a punk show every night.
I mean, because I mean, a punk show, I would say, is there's an aspect of like stage violence. You know what I mean? Like it's aggressive. Whether you're, you know, I'm not comparing it to like gore or anything like that with giant like shooting penises or whatever. But
I hated those shows, dude. I was like, I'm never going to a gore show again. I was in the back row.
Oh, smart place. Smart place.
My friends always tried to rope me into those, and I'm like, that just doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, ICP's cool, but I don't want fucking soda all over me on the drive home.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm down for like experiencing some things. Like, I went to a show. It was a guy named, and I mess up the name, Sun Little. And like, she listened to, you know, to him and kind of introduced me to a couple songs. And like, I kind of resonated with a couple songs that were interesting. And then all of a sudden, like when you went to the live show, you could hear him live. It truly made a difference. Like I appreciated those songs so much more compared to just like hearing it where you're like, oh, it's not my thing. And you kind of swipe past it there. It was like, I'm here, I'm listening to the entire thing. You got to hear the words and kind of see the artist kind of perform. And that's where I think some of those shows are really awesome. Smaller venues, you can see that person who's dedicated their life to learning instruments and just having a whole stage performance. I mean, I think it's pretty awesome.
You know what reminds me of that is I saw the Flaming Lips in Philadelphia.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
But I saw, you know, most dudes would just like take off and, you know, go to the hotel or whatever. And I saw Wayne Coyne loading the truck, like a semi backed up. And they've got such huge props and everything that, you know, obviously there's a lot of effort put into building these things. And you don't just want some dumb stagehand tossing it onto the truck. But like you could see him like personally handling everything and making sure that it's perfectly placed in the truck and everything.
That's crazy.
That's cool.
When they took off.
Yeah, we used to kick artists out that would like want to do that.
Really?
Because you become kind of friends with, like, some artists are really integrated with their crew, and then some are just like in their own world. You know, like they're just doing their own thing from the Four Seasons to the dinner to the stage. You know, like type of thing. Wow. But some of them like being there. And there was times where like the production manager would come out and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? If you get hurt, everybody here doesn't work. Get the fuck back in your dressing room," like type of.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. But also, it's that performer that's like, you know what? I need to appreciate all levels of this. You know what I mean? Like from all the way to the person that's taking tickets to the guys that are loading trucks and, you know, setting stuff up. So
totally,
I'm for it, but I could also see the manager's kind of logic. Like, we're all screwed if you get hurt, dude. You know.
That's what made me really understand it the first time. I was like, oh yeah, because there's a lot of fucking moving parts in a tiny space. But man,
it's crazy.
Have you ever seen Rammstein?
No, I would like to.
So the lead singer of that band,
he's old.
Yeah, he's a technician himself. So he's developed all these props that literally they change the heat signature in a city when they go to it, and they have to have special equipment that's fireproof in the roof. So like when we're hanging like lighting trusses and stuff, we use coffee bags.
Okay.
Like burlap sacks to wrap around the beam because you're putting a steel cable across it. So it helps with like static. Then also it keeps that burlap is just enough to keep the steel cable from cutting through the beam. There's a lot of different reasons why they use it. And you can throw them around. They're lightweight. They pack really easy. But for like Rammstein, they have to use retired fire hose over it because like it's that fire retardant. And it's like that much fire and that much. And he's got like these fucking wings that shoot like stuff.
Yeah,
like
I've seen like guitars to like just,
oh man, it's insane.
It says here he became certified after part of their set caught on fire in '96. So they wanted to avoid that. So he went out and learned pyro.
Dude, pull up images. Yeah, look at some of this stuff, dude. Like, it's insane. Their music's insane, too.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like the dude's gotten older, too. I remember, like, seeing, like...
And if you see him, he's, like, literally cooked. Like, his skin is like, you know... You can tell when somebody's been.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that, the stadium photo right there.
Gosh.
It's wild, dude. Pyro is so badass. Like, I love explosions, man. I always have. It was when I was on tour with Lil Wayne, it was like he was kind of coming out of his rap phase and decided he wanted to be like a bit more rock and roll. So he was like playing the electric guitar, but it was still like gangster rap. But we would start that show with I think it was 8 concussions, were the most that you could do in succession in an indoor arena. Like, because the fire marshals come out and they have all these rules.
So when you say concussions, like that's blasts like inside.
Yeah. So
okay.
I mean, you being former military, I think you guys throw those through doors as kind of like a flashbang, like boom,
so
like to get your attention.
That's what you're using as a concussion grenade?
Yeah.
Oh no shit.
So they have these special steel boxes that have 4 points rigged to like a bridle, and they have to hang them a certain point above the audience for like safety. So it basically goes off in this box, and it rattles. I mean, the popcorn guys are like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like,
so that kicks it off like boom, 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 and then
do you have to fire that in front of the fire marshal, like pre?
Yeah, so the fire marshal will come in like day of show, and there's like a dark period where they look at drapes, they look at like, because they have to be fire retardant.
They walk the
like,
whole thing.
And then they want to see pyro, and then they need to see each pyro gag.
So like the concussion or
or flame boxes, and they have all these crazy ones that like shoot blue and orange and purple flames, and but those concussions were awesome. We would start the show on stage, and I would have these like earmuff like headphones on.
Yeah.
And that entire show, all I did was bring strippers up and down this lift.
Strippers.
Okay.
Like, I was like another.
So I'd be sitting backstage with like probably 30 girls in string bikinis, and I'm sitting there with like my lift cues, and they would just start the show, and it started with just this crazy like rock and roll, and the concussions would go off on the hit. There's a pyro guy that actually like fires it on cue. And every night I would sit there for like a year and a half, try not to flinch, every time, and I couldn't get through it. And these girls were like, they would be so stunned that they couldn't, because there was different girls every night.
And they were there like back up to like something on the set, right?
Yeah. So we had this lift that kind of played like behind the stage, like the furthest upstage point, and we had a portable stripper pole.
And this is for Lil Wayne?
Yeah. Wayne was awesome, man. He was one of those artists that I was talking about that you would think is like not pleasant to work for, but one of the best people I ever worked for in my life, man. Like, that's super good dude.
Yeah.
So we would have to like put the stripper pole up, and then it would just be every 5 minutes I'd bring a girl up to do her act. And then on top of that, not only was it like a lift, look up the Carter 3. That was the tour that we were doing it on.
Lil Wayne stripper pole concert.
Yeah. Look up the Carter 3. I'm trying to remember what the name of the tour was, because they name their tours normally different.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, so anyways, I would just run that thing up and down. You just press a button, and it comes up and then down, and then it would spin at the same time. So the girls didn't even have to spin on the pole.
Hold on. Yeah, that's good.
It was good, man. He was a good artist.
That's cool. It's cool to get like an inside look on a lot of those folks that are, on stage performing, and kind of get some ground truth into really who they are, and kind of, this guy's an asshole, this girl's an asshole, That's cool.
There's plenty of photos of Wayne at a strip club.
I was just going to say, these aren't on stage, I don't think. Dang.
Yeah, that was a fun tour, man.
Now, like, what about like country music? You ever do any country shows?
I did. I've done country acts. I've done a country award show in Nashville. I forget which one it was.
Okay.
But then I used to do a bunch with iHeartRadio.
Gotcha.
So it'd be like Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, like all the big acts, like in one night. So like Zach Brown Band, those guys are fucked. Zach Brown's cool, dude.
Yeah.
They played Rage Against the Machine one night on stage. Zach Brown Band playing Rage Against the Machine.
I like Rage.
I'm trying to think of who else country wise. Eric Church a little bit. there's a crazy story that I have about Garth Brooks, because I got a bunch of buddies that are out with him.
Yeah.
And at one point, they were coming to him like kind of at the height of his career and saying, hey, we need to pay these guys less. We're paying them too much, like all the road guys that were like setting up his show.
Really?
So he's like, well, let me go work with them for a day. And I'll see, you know.
Yeah, what you're saying is justified. Yeah.
Right. So he was one of those artists that came out and like did a full day of like load-in, all that sort of stuff. He ended up paying the guys double what their rate was and like fired all of his managers. So to this day, I guess he's still just like awesome to the crew. Like every show that they do, they'll go do something or they'll get some sort of crazy bonus. Or,
wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is awesome. That's the stuff you like to hear. Like some of those artists still have kind of like a good good grip on reality in life. Like, you're not that big. You still put your pants on like everybody else.
When Tom Petty died, I was so bummed out.
Oh, dude.
And I came in here and Bobby and I were just bullshitting and that came up. And then he just like, oh yeah, so when I was out with him, and I'm like, oh, get the hell out of here. Are you shitting me?
Tom Petty's a shit, dude.
And that was like the best thing in the world to hear at that point.
Wow.
Like, he wasn't an asshole rock and roll guy. He was like a dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, he was a good guy. Stoner, dude.
Probably keeps
I was get along with those guys pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Damn.
So back to explosions, like I did some pyro on a military base one time. So
kidding.
What's the Air Force base that's in Vegas? I'm trying to you might have to look this up, Jeremy.
It's not Andrews. Is it Andrews? No.
No, that's
No.
It might start with an A. Dude, that is a badass Air Force base. If anybody is ever in Vegas, screw the strip, dude.
Really?
Go out to the NASCAR track, go to the parking lot.
Gotcha.
And for some reason there's
Nellis?
Yes.
Nellis, yeah.
There's aircraft that comes from around the world to like train there. So you're seeing like Iranian fucking fighter jets and like all kinds of crazy shit there. But they did that year that I toured around on that Air Force base, they did an air show, but they included pyro into it. So they weren't like shooting live missiles. They hired like pyro guys. Yeah. But like a B-52 would come by and they blew up a fucking tank, dude. And like, it was awesome.
So they're doing gun runs. And that's cool.
That was super rad.
Simulated war. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, out in Vegas, though, I mean, that whole area, you got nothing but
there's so many people that go out there and just blow shit up.
Yeah, there's a lot of training grounds. I mean, it's just open country.
Your time in the military, did you get to see some pretty badass explosions or like air support stuff?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like in Iraq. I mean, that was kind of a normal thing, I guess you could say. But there's even like doing like different sort of trainings. You're firing something off. I remember this one thing was called a MICLIC. It was a mine clearing lane charge. And it's this like little trailer they back up. And what it does is it shoots out this kind of like anal bead looking thing. Like it's like, but it's huge and it's on a rope and it's got all these charges and it's supposed to clear a huge lane of mines. So it just goes, and it goes, shoots it all the way out. And it goes like 100, 200, something. I don't remember the exact.
So it's kind of like a primer charge to set those off.
And it sets all those off and creates a huge lane, and then you can just continue your advances forward. I mean, there's all sorts of ordnance like Mark 82. These different sort of ordnance. 500.
Is that the Warhogs or?
No, those are like
the machine guns.
Yeah, like the actual ordnance itself. Sometimes if you watch those get dropped, if you're calling in for like, and we used to go to like a CAS trainer, combined air support. And you learn how to use planes to drop specific types of munitions on targets based on military necessity. And once you actually see those munitions like in the flesh, like what a 500-pound bomb is, what a 1,000-pound bomb is, or like a JDAM, you're like, Jesus, Mary, like they just rock your world, like dropping JDAMs, like, you know, blowing out bunkers or, you know, clearing caves or anything like that. Some of this stuff is just, and you have to like sit with your mouth open. You can't like hold your breath or like anticipate it because they don't want like any of that pressure, you know, coming and rocking your world. So you kind of like, and then boom, it goes off.
That's what they train you to do is like sit there with your.
Well, it's like you never want to like, you know, have any sort of percussion or anything that is equally tamped that's going to create a universal kind of explosion and you're closing off like your lungs or anything like that because it can have an impact because essentially your body is kind of like a balloon or like a enclosed.
So you're
space.
Absorbing that shock wave.
Yeah,
right?
so you want to kind of keep your systems open and get ready. So it's even like if you're throwing in, something as small as like an M67, like a fragmentation grenade. It's you throw those in, boom, they go off. You're doing the thing. Same thing with any sort of percussion, but you never want to like hold your breath and get ready to go in anticipation because it can impact you. It's the same thing with like like an IED or something like that.
Wow,
JDAMs,
dude,
they'll do some damage, man.
I kind of regret not being in the military for that very reason, man. Like that. I don't know. That stuff is just
dude. We got
so
YouTube.
fascinating.
You can watch YouTube videos.
I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, it's there's days. I mean, when I first went, I was a machine gunner. We would just waste ammo. we would do, obviously we were there to do, but they put in a request for X amount of ammo and they're like, well, we got half of that left. You're like, just get rid of it. So you're shooting all this sort of stuff, seeing what you can do, setting up unique types of fire, as a machine gunner, but you have so much at your disposal.
Yeah.
I mean,
much. To me, that would be the funnest part of it. I think. Yeah.
It
all the other
is.
stuff, I don't know.
I mean, you're shooting like fun ranges, like whether you're shooting like like a tow missile or when they used to have like dragons and all these variations of munitions. It's pretty awesome to see them go, but it's not always the case. Sometimes if you're doing like a training evolution, you're not always shooting rounds off based on whatever your mission set is. But sometimes you're like, all right, we're just practicing repulse. Here's a bunch of blanks, and you're like, oh god, this is
yeah.
You're just doing simulations. But if you're doing like a shoot house, obviously you're doing live rounds. If you're doing like as a machine gunner, we do like overhead fire sort of stuff where you got guys maneuvering below, as a machine gun's firing over their heads. Machine gun has
wild, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But you get like depression stops and all these different things that can prevent somebody from getting shot. But I mean, it's just. I remember when we were leaving Iraq our first time, we had tons of grenades left, and they're like, "We need to get rid of them." And we're like, "Okay, so just your next tick, you're employing a lot of, grenades in that sort of capacity." But there you go, Rippets, lifesavers.
What is that? Is that like an energy drink?
Yeah.
Nice.
Everyone do Rippets. That's it.
That's crazy. I think the closest or the biggest explosions that I ever got to deal with is, I think I just recently told this story on the podcast, but one of my first jobs when I was in high school was working with my grandfather, and he was a former firefighter and got his blasting permit for road construction.
Oh, cool.
So I would drill holes in rock. He would like mark the rock, and then I would drill a series of like 30 or 40 or however big the rock was.
Yeah.
It's how many holes you drilled.
No kidding.
And then we would load it with dynamite at the end of the day.
And just boom. That's cool.
It was awesome.
That's cool. What about that, speaking of explosions, that Cybertruck exploded?
Oh, yeah. What the hell, Jeremy? All right, Jeremy.
What's your conspiracy? Cybertruck explosion.
So both of the dudes were Army. The guy from that Cybertruck was rented on Turo from Colorado Springs.
It was rented?
Yeah, It was a rented Turo. And the dude was apparently Green Beret, like still active. So like that's a thing.
So wait, do they think this was some sort of an event? And as far as
I
like
don't know,
an attack,
you're not getting anything from anybody who knows anything.
Wow.
You're getting people like
hearsay information.
Well, hearsay, but you're also getting like the internet sleuths. They just all start going active because you don't hear any and what are you going to believe?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually being fed real information? So like everybody.
There's a clear message. If it's a Tesla parked in front of a Trump building.
Yeah, that was my thing.
There's also like military dudes. We know military dudes.
Uh-huh.
If you're going to do something like that, why would you choose a Cybertruck? You know how all that they've been touting is how indestructible they are, right? Their construction. Are they the best off-road vehicle? No, but you can shoot them, you can do all kinds of stuff, and they don't collapse. So why would you choose that if you're trying to actually do some damage to a place? Because if you look at the explosion, it blew right out the back of it. It didn't do anything.
It's payload.
So I don't know. That was kind of weird.
How much can those things haul? What's the weight capacity?
It's huge.
Is it? They were heavy
and the
as
shocks
fuck.
too. So
I've never seen one on a 4-wheel drive trail. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. my guess would be is that thing can support the weight. So like,
right.
you know, if it has
2,500.
Okay.
I mean, for something that's not like a, like a heavy duty.
Yeah. Well, what's an easy thing to park in front of a place? You know what I mean? If you pull,
it looked like he pulled right up to the fucking valet stand.
Yeah.
I hope the valet's
I don't
still
think you could
alive.
be any more in front of that.
Right.
Yeah, if you pull up in like a jalopy, there's going to be some like, this car doesn't match this environment. More importantly, if you have a vehicle that's able to support a large amount of,
that fits in.
HME,
yeah.
homemade explosive, kind of goes in that pattern of life. What would you expect to see parked in front of a Trump, building,
Right.
Tesla, that sort of thing? Probably not a Prius by any means, but
No.
it's
Wow, dude.
Yeah, here you go. Check it out.
wow.
I haven't seen that photo yet. Oh, that's wild. So
That's crazy.
I mean, obviously, do they have a motive, or is it they're still?
No, I don't
Of
know,
course
dude.
not. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. The whole thing stinks. And both of the guys, this attack and the one in New Orleans, both of them spent time at like, I don't know if it was the same time, but like spent considerable amount of time at Fort Bragg, which is like where psyops.
I mean, Bragg's a big base.
It's
I
a
mean,
big-
you're gonna have
All kinds of stuff. there.
different ODAs and whatnot that are. I mean, that's
It just doesn't make sense to
Soft
me
elements.
because
But that was weird, dude.
I mean,
Inside of
90%
24 hours,
of the guys. Have you ever met? I don't think I've met very many left-leaning military
Yeah, but
people.
there's wingnuts
well,
everywhere.
Yeah.
in this day and age,
not many. And if
Yeah.
and if they are more left, then it's not like they're saying
right? But
anything,
is that's kind of the message that I get from this? Is like somebody that's anti-Trump, somebody that's anti-Elon Musk, maybe, right?
I don't know, man. I think we're just gonna start seeing a little bit of chaos and leave everybody thinking this is my conspiracy, this is what I think, and
Right.
you're never gonna get the real story out of anything.
Yeah.
And it's just chaos,
Yeah.
which is perfect.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I remember going through a mirror image school where you live as an insurgent, Taliban, whatever. And one of the things they would constantly tell us, it's not whether it's 1 or 100 that you could kill, it's the message that you can send. It's like that was like our leader of our little terrorist cell. 1 or 100 doesn't matter. It's the message, because the message will impact and have second and third and fourth order effects going on and on. So if VBIDs are going off in front of Trump Plaza, can that start happening in other locations? That message, people start getting paranoid, people start locking down, people start getting a little itchy trigger finger. Their heat state, their own personal heat state kind of rises as they're considering this, that, and the other. What's a possibility?
Well, me included, dude. The first thing, like yesterday, I was like, "Fuck, Happy New Year!"
Yeah.
It's a total downer, man. It's a bummer.
2025 has been a real bummer. This year stinks, dude.
Well, between that going on,
You're such an optimist.
yeah,
It's been a hell of a year.
No, it's just I don't know, man. I hope we don't run into any more of this shit. I hope that maybe we can kind of lock some of this stuff down, because I mean, I'm on edge most of the time. There's certain spots that I've told my family, like, hey, just stay away from it.
go.
Like, yeah, don't go.
We have a mutual
it's going to
friend
make
who
me
is-
think twice about not going to a major sporting event. I did that last year. I had front row tickets to one of the biggest sporting events in the world.
yeah.
And I chose not to go because I saw the level of security and I didn't feel comfortable.
That's smart.
And thank God nothing happened, but still, it was like, fuck, I don't want to be there if something does.
Yeah, man. I'd
I'd rather be on Eagles Wing Ranch with Donnie Dust fucking in my rocks, dude.
Well, like the downside is when this sort of shit happens, like that's when I go back to like the counter intel concepts and ideas of like when I was in the military. It's like, all right, who, what, where, when, why, what else, what other, what's the significance, why that truck? You start breaking it down in different capacities, and then it's finding those individuals. And in this day and age, it's hard to do. Like, who would have that information? Like, what is the message behind that?
Yeah.
So significant after a new year. There's something to it without going into like conspiracy mode, but there has to be some simple kind of analytics, simple process.
Some sort of motive. Like the one that gets me being
This
in
is
the concert.
very on the nose, though, isn't it? Like, it's very, like, ham-fisted, kind of on the nose, Cybertruck, Trump, like,
Yeah.
you know?
Makes a great headline.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, right?
There's two factors that can connect. I mean, between a Tesla and Elon and Trump right in front of the tower. But you know, it's hard to pinpoint it.
Shit, I need another drink. Speaking of our mutual, is everything all right?
Yeah, so, like, I was just thinking, like, we had a mutual friend who was in New Orleans.
Yeah. We knew it was going there to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was 2 blocks away from that attack. Like, she was out
No kidding.
on that. She was a couple blocks away
Oh,
from that.
fuck.
Wow.
And the last text I sent to her was, watch yourself there, please. I'll see you when you get back. She just, responded, I will see you when I get back. And it was just like,
Wow.
I just had a fucking feeling, dude. It was like,
I'm not laughing.
I always got a feeling, dude.
I do listen to him though, because half the time he's been fucking right, dude. I'm like, God damn it.
Spidey senses.
Yeah.
Spidey senses.
No, but just in general.
You just keep your head up.
That place is pretty wild anyway.
Yeah.
In general, you want to watch yourself.
Oh,
in
New Orleans is crazy,
It's
dude.
Yeah.
fucking bananas.
One of the wildest nights I've ever had was on Halloween night there, and I was literally going out for like 2 beers, and it turned into just
4 days.
I mean,
God knows what else.
oh man, it was wild. No, I was just shocked at like the people.
Oh yeah.
And then the bar scene too is like, they're all buy 1 beer, get 4 free, or buy this, buy it. So I ordered a Jameson and Coke one time. And I was expecting it to like come in a glass like this.
Yeah.
Dude, it came in a big glass because they're like, oh, you bought it before 5 o'clock, so it's 6 for 1. So they put 6 drinks in a fucking
What?
literally, it was a 7-Eleven cup. And I was like, all right, well,
Here we go.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Dude, I was
No,
just
it's
there
wild.
like, I went out there on like a Tuesday, and it was the crazy.
Oh yeah, that was like a Monday afternoon or something, right?
It's just a party.
I woke up in Philadelphia. I was like, I went out after the show with a couple of dudes, and he's like, "Hey, I know a place." And then that last thing I remember, I was at a piano bar, and then I woke up in Philly, and it was like, it's fucking nuts, dude.
Oh man, that's no joke. That is no joke. God.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I hope nothing more like this shit happens. Hopefully it's just the first little buzz. But like,
Yeah.
to tie it back to the concert industry, I have a friend that was shot in the face
What?
at the concert in Vegas from Mandalay Bay.
That guy was up in there.
She lived, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Dude, that's nuts.
And then multiple people that I knew in the industry, they were like helping. Like there wasn't enough ambulances to take people to the
Yeah.
hospital. So one of my really good friends was just like literally putting people. I think he had a Chevy Avalanche at the time or something,
What? Just
and he was just throwing. People that were
yeah.
bleeding out in the back of his truck, and literally he sent me a photo of the entrance of the hospital, and it just looked like somebody drug a bison through the front door with that much blood trail. I mean, they couldn't clean it up fast enough.
But like, see, that's another one. There was never any closure to that story, right?
No, it's just like
they just
still.
they moved
Yeah.
on to something else. So
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like all these open-ended things, it just opens the door for conspiracy and stuff like that.
Well, it's so weird,
sucks. It's
like revisiting a place like that too, because I
Sure.
was just in Vegas and like
Sure.
oh, it's right there.
I did a show at Mandalay Bay a couple months ago, and I had to like walk through the,
You
Yeah.
look right out
You
your
just-
window if you're staying at Mandalay Bay. It's
Yeah.
right there, dude. It's crazy.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that, like you were saying, Jeremy, never gets resolved. There's never any kind of like capstone, like, all right, this is X, Y, and Z. Everything's just kind of left open, and then maybe it kind of comes back around. And I think that's where people they build those conspiracies, or it's a lack of trust in various entities, like,
Yeah.
the cat that shot President Trump in the ear. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like, there's
what
just,
a wild couple months.
that's what I mean.
And like people are just kind of like okay with
Yeah,
it.
they're like, man, it's all good. No worries. I got my new iPhone for Christmas. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit. And that's where I just
And not there was a second attempt,
yeah.
like
Like what? Like when he was.
It's like a month later.
Yeah. We was playing.
That's why I'm kind of like now. I'm like, why are you going to all these like sporting events and just like cruising around watching rockets launch?
He
and
needs to be like in a bunker. Just
seriously, just until inauguration.
Stop, you don't need to golf that much.
God.
What is the protocol? I mean, not to bring that up, but like if he were to get assassinated before he's actually inaugurated, is Vance just in at that point?
Dude, I think that if that happens, both sides are just going to be fighting each other. I mean, I'm sure that there's a protocol for it, but they're going to. We didn't elect Vance, and it's going to, like that'll be the.
That would be wild.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't been obviously sworn in.
Yeah.
So I guess to assume the official duties of President of the United States, you'd have to be sworn in. But being that he's president-elect, like I wonder. I don't know.
Oh, tell me it's not like the speaker.
Oh God,
that dork! Like, come on.
I don't know. I've been a firm believer that we're only told what they want to tell us for like years. Even like, God, probably when I
feel like we're
Dude,
force
look
fed
at this Google
bullshit.
search. Hold on a second. I'm like a second behind here. It takes a second.
The FBI is going to knock on the door here in a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I know. They're like, we've been listening for a while.
Cybertruck,
Stone tools our ass. Yeah.
Look at this.
What?
Look at this search here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
What the hell?
Crazy. I think it's also that we're paying more attention to everything all the time at your disposal. Like I think that this stuff happened in the past a lot, and we just didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're part of the problem, Bobby.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
because between like news, media, podcasts, social media, it comes in every form. And I'm not saying you're a problem, but
we're talking about it right now, right?
And people talk about it more because there are those opportunities to do so. But it's like, who's got the information? You know what I mean? And I think that's where my mind goes. And sometimes where, you hear different topics. Unless somebody has, again, that ground truth, it's like, all right, I can listen to what they're saying. I can take the key points and be like, I'm going to think about this, look into that. But until I actually come up with it. But then even when you do your research, it's like, who wrote the research? Who's published this? Who's published that?
Oh, it's so big.
Well, it's also nobody wants to be lied to. Nobody wants to be a fool. So then they all have the internet. And they can go off on their own. You can
also Google whatever you want on there and pretty much find an answer.
Find the answer.
Yeah. Find your answer.
Your answer, yeah. What even on medical stuff, which is wild to me too. It's like, what the hell?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Like we are all definitely part of the problem.
But it's not a problem. It's that I don't want to say like you're a problem.
No, but there's a million podcasters out there. Everybody's got their own opinion.
Exactly.
I don't think people should take factual anything that I say in here to heart or as factual because literally a podcast is sitting here like thinking out loud.
That's it.
And now that I've done 200 episodes, I feel like I can say that because I have that many under my belt and then some, like we were talking. This is actually 100 or 201. Donnie, for those of you listening, we recorded an entire episode and we had like this power surge.
Yeah.
That could be a conspiracy in itself,
Total
right?
Conspiracy.
They wanted to shut us down. It was too good. Literally like 2 hours into an episode and we had a power surge and I lost the entire recording. And that's happened to me. I think you were the first, but it happened to me one other time too. But now we have battery backup and all that sort of stuff. The generators on the roof.
But the good thing about the podcast is that it presents opinions, options, concepts, ideas, just a whole different flow on how somebody could formulate their opinion into something or someone and then be able to like articulate it, be able to explain, this is why I, I prefer this over that. Here's my reasons why. So they get an opportunity to kind of voice it instead of, doing a 30-line post and not being able to really kind of explain it. And that's the important thing is that anybody can talk about it and present their opinion. That's the power of the opinion. You can't really take it away, but you can change it. And that's the benefit of.
You're so right, man. I've changed my opinion in here.
Absolutely.
On so many things. Like, I think it's all about like taking those chances and putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, whether it's a conversation or picking up a piece of stone and trying to butcher a bison or walking into the backcountry. Like, simply like I think people now are so used to living in comfortability.
Yeah.
Like myself included.
Mm-hmm.
Like
sure. We all
going home and that first shower that you take after being in the backcountry for 12 days.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A shower's never felt so good.
I agree.
It's like,
yeah,
this is amazing, dude. And what a luxury. But you do that for 60 days where you haven't been in the backcountry. It's just like, oh, fuck, I got to take a shower before I go to work. It's like that kind of like sped up. Like you don't really think about it. It's all about time and where you got to be and how you got, you know.
I don't want to smell for people.
Right.
I showered today. Just for
Thanks, buddy.
Just no problem. But I think with like, you know, is you know, someone like myself who loves, you know, ancient, you know, technologies and stone tools, I do live in the modern age, and there are things that, you know, I utilize, whether it's a vehicle driving up to Evergreen, Colorado, or, you know, stopping to put fuel in a car. Like there are those things you're not, and I don't want to say that those are comforts and it builds a level of complacency. That's just the way it is in certain walks of life. Where we build up that kind of comfort is where we just take everything for granted, like food, power, just all those things. Like, I'm not saying I pray every day for a power outage that wipes everything out across the U.S., but there's a part of me that's like, God, I just kind of hope it happens. Maybe just for like 3 or 4 days, just to kind of wake people up. Not where it's going to cause people to, you know, lose life support or anything like that. Yeah,
the best thing would be for it to happen for like 2 or 3 days.
Bingo.
And it totally be a mechanical thing. No attack, nothing. Like, fuck, the transformer fucked up here and it causes chain reaction.
Yeah.
Because A, it's going to strengthen the grid.
Absolutely.
B, it's going to strengthen people.
Huge amounts.
And it's going to give people a moment to realize, like, fuck, this might really be a problem. What if we didn't have power for 60 days?
Bingo.
And I think I think the more rural that you live, the more that you experience that. So, like, you going into the backcountry and living out of a cave and understanding these are the elements that I need to make it through the night, or right, just as simple as that.
Just a night.
We've lost that touch with humanity. 100%, to where like we're so reliant on so many different things that it causes this domino effect.
Yeah.
And I've seen people like firsthand freak out. Like I've been in some bad situations where people freak out, and like Graham Dunn brought it up, another former an awesome guy. He's like, in a bad situation, people do one of 4 things. They either fight, freeze, run, or no, fuck, now I'm fucking it up. Sorry, Graham. Yeah.
Flee and fight and then freeze. Freeze takes in all the information you can, and then give your appropriate response.
And what you never want to do is freeze. Like the worst thing, like I've seen people do it where it's like I'm yelling at them to dial 911.
Yeah.
And they literally cannot move because they're in shock of what's going on in front of them. So like the moment that you don't act and freeze or that sort of thing, that's probably the worst thing that you can do, especially like if you experience an apex predator in the backcountry.
Yeah.
Like the last thing you want to do is like freeze. And you really don't want to run. Especially if it's a cat or something.
I think everybody does freeze, but over time your freeze decreases down to just a millisecond where it's almost reactionary. Because everyone has to take a second to take in the information. And I use this example. So as Misha and I were driving down into Texas, there was a couple cars behind us. We were coming to a light. And this car, you know, I rolled down the window, probably because I farted, but I rolled down the window and all of a sudden we heard tires, and then boom, this car ran right into a telephone pole.
Oh,
and like, we didn't we heard the sound, kind of looked back behind us, and we were probably, you know, 3 or 4 blocks up, just to give you a distance there. And as soon as it was happening, there was a truck that had already gotten out and somebody else had already gotten out. And she was like, should we go help them? Like, we can do one of 2 things. We can go over there and create more of the chaos. We're already kind of far ahead. We just call 911 right now. We instantly called 911, and like, it wasn't a portion of me is like, oh, we should probably go back and help. You kind of know what to do. And then the other portion is you have to do something. And if it's as simple as calling 911, that's just reaction. And it's not like, should we? What should we do? Somebody else is doing it. It's like, who cares if 40 people call? At least they'll get 40 calls.
There's been a lot of people die because they just assume that there's 10 people standing around. So somebody is dialed and nobody dialed.
Exactly. Yeah. Doing something is better than nothing. And that can be, you know, fighting or fleeing to escape into a situation, or approaching, you know, or kind of going after that situation. But it's case by case. Everything's a little bit, different, but people will always take a millisecond to take it in and be like, what do I do? It's just like any MMA fighter you have on here. They study a guy, they see his moves, he starts to wrench back with the right hand, they know he's going to jab with the left. He knows he's collecting that information. And it's part of that innate thing. And I don't think a lot of people experience those kind of chaoses, if you will, of a power outage or, a tire going flat or pick any sort of thing. They don't know how to handle it. And when it does happen, like the world is over. Like they can't they can't solve the problem. They're just kind of in that shock mode and they have no real kind of, ground truth to what they should do.
And guess what, people, if the entire grid goes out, you're not going to be able to dial 911 either. So like not to put fear in people, but I think like being reliant on yourself.
Yes.
And kind of what I was getting at with like living rurally, even from an inner city, like just living here, we're 30 minutes from a major metropolitan area. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. But we've experienced power outages out here because of the wind. We've lost cell phone reception for an entire day.
Yeah.
Like
Self-Reliance.
There's shit that happens.
Yeah.
And kind of being prepared in that and knowing what to do is huge. Or having a plan B. Just simply having a plan like, oh, fuck, this is why this flashlight's here, that lantern's there. I got this fucking radio that I would never turn on a radio. Yeah. My truck can start still. Like
it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes some sort of event for it to happen. Think of like, what was it? Like 3 or 4 years ago, that snow that hit Texas, wiped out like the whole state. I think they have probably 2 feet of snow and like freezing temps.
More than freezing, everything just froze.
Yeah, right. Everything froze. So like water, like my sister was calling me, being like, "How do I start my gas grill?" And I'm like what? The push button doesn't work. But it was that sort of thing that I think a lot of people there got like, okay, this is an extreme, the snow, but this is a good learning thing for us. This is a good learning time where we could say, all right, we do need to have a little bit of cache of water, food, resources, supplies, that sort of thing. And I think when people do that, they come out on top. And then they start to become more self-reliant, and then they're willing to kind of educate those around them. Because you want to take care of your neighbors and those people in
There's
your
nothing better than being a provider, man. Like,
it works.
I think.
Yeah, totally
I enjoy
works.
that out of anything. It's just being a provider.
Yeah.
Dude, I have a house in Florida, and that first storm blew through hit the Tampa area.
Yeah.
And I called up my neighbor. I knew that her husband was out of town. And I said, hey, listen, I've got a generator in my garage. You just go over there, grab it, pull it over to your house, fuel it up. It's clean. It's empty. It's ready to go. So she called me up and she's like, I can't get this thing going. I can't get it going. I'm, troubleshooting it online.
Yeah.
She filled it up with diesel. Oh. And it's like, it's one of those things. It's like you had the thing right in front of you. She was without power for like 4 days.
Well, this is my big thing about buying gear and training and you can own all the tourniquets in the world, but if you don't know how to properly put one on while somebody's bleeding out or on yourself, if you've never practiced, like you're not going to listen, you literally have like, if it's a true arterial bleed,
seconds.
You have like maybe a minute of consciousness if you're trying to apply it to yourself. So that nice plastic wrapper that's in, fucking take it off, dude. Like anything that you can do to cut corners. And this is the roadie in me, because that's all we did was like cut corners, make your day shorter, as short as you possibly can, so you can get to the next city on time.
Yeah.
It just
gaffer's tape.
Yeah.
Tourniquet.
Yeah. Tow a car with it, bro.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, there's a lot of people that put tourniquets on, but you got a victim probably screaming in pain and some sort of agony. Shock comes up, they pass out. Are you okay? You're not sitting there talking like, hey, I'm going to slam the thing on there, wrench it down, and you hope for the best. You know what I mean? I mean, there's any number of scenarios.
Or just not taking the time, maybe putting it on too fast in the wrong spot.
Sure.
You can cause more damage. Like
high as you can.
You have to know where it's going, right? Like there's so many variables to that I don't think people... They see it online. They see the cool, like, tactical guys carrying it in their shoe or in their fucking belt. And it's like, unless you've had some sort of training in it, man, like, good luck.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot different.
Especially if you're carrying, like, a tactical tourniquet. They're so much smaller and, like, harder to work with.
The blood alone And you get an arterial bleed. There's not a lot of people they're going to see the blood and get queasy and start to gag because it's blood, And not everyone is like that, but that's a huge factor that people are like, I can practice putting on a tourniquet, but until you start seeing it pumping out and it's oozing, someone's screaming, there's people, maybe there's people around, maybe not.
I can only imagine. Thank God I've never had to do that. I am prepared to do it, but even just doing it with one of those bleed trainers, we had Sam Boy or Goff come in and we put up plastic in here because it was the middle of winter.
Yeah.
And we went through a whole little thing where we put on tourniquets on each other and then packing wounds. But with the bleed trainer, we were packing wounds. And you'd reach in and there would be these things are badass. It's this company, True Clot, that makes them.
Yeah.
So they make this special blood that's I don't know, it's super expensive, but it actually starts to clot real blood or something when oxygen hits it.
Okay.
So it comes in these individual packages and then it's pumped through. Somebody has to sit there and pump the blood into the bleed trainer like a heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And it'll sit there and it'll shoot across the fucking room, dude.
Yeah.
So anyways, you're trying to pack it, but just, we went maybe 8 or 9 times each on the bleed trainer with no blood, but then just adding the blood, your heart rate goes up. There's a moment of fuck, and then it's more slime. I mean, you're dealing with so many different variables. We were putting dry gauze into a silicone hole.
Yeah.
And then you add blood and everything gets more slippery. It's just you're not as effective. So it really makes you understand pressure and how much pressure you need to put and
just keep packing, man.
Yeah.
That's
just keep going.
Just keep shoving it in.
Yeah, and keep pressure, as much pressure as you can. So one finger on top of the other and just give her hell, man. Put the whole fist in there if you need to.
Well, people who train on things routinely. They're going to come out on top on those sort of situations. And I give anybody, just some sage advice. It doesn't hurt to pick up a couple skills every year to say, all right, this year I'm going to focus on, medicine inside the home when someone gets sick, or I'm going to focus on, the traumas you could come across, in a car crash or someone getting hit by a car. So, if you train for some specifics, it will give you more foundation than just, I just have a good first aid kit. And you know what I mean? You can have it, but if you don't know how to use it, that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
100%.
You got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it. There's so many skills that I need to sharpen myself in. There's so many.
Oh yeah,
so many. It's
me too.
limitless. Yeah.
It's just one of those things you dive in and say, all right, I'm gonna.
There's no way that I could do what you do effectively, and it's kind of that time spent doing a thing, you get better at it, right?
Absolutely.
I've gotten better at podcasting over this many episodes because I've put that much effort into it. But what's your biggest takeaway, man? Because you probably spend. My favorite place to spend time is in here, and then probably the backcountry, second.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
And I think because of human connection, and I like doing it with people because there's a bit more of that human connection, or just being on something where you only have one task. The thing I like about podcasting is when I'm actually in here recording is the best part.
Sure.
Because there's only one task. It's to sit down, talk,
that's it.
Have a good time. That's it.
Yeah.
No other expectations. I'm not trying to cover every news story, be factual. This is just a dumb guy talking, dude.
To another dumb guy.
To a
third
savage.
guy. Yeah.
No, my rule number one is to have a savage sitting across, somebody that's better at something than I am, whether it's, and you can be a savage. I say a savage, I mean in the utmost respect,
of course,
in the best form that you could be, man.
Yeah.
I think savages are cool, dude. So whether it's a primitive survival guy or maybe it's a photographer, you don't have to be. It could be a guy with no legs, I've had that. It could be somebody that is a quadriplegic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's so many. Just mindset can be savage too.
Sure.
And then are they a good person? So that's huge. But the thing that I love about archery hunting or going on the bison butcher with you, there's one goal.
Yeah.
The one goal is to pay tribute to that animal, get it in coolers, don't let any of the meat spoil, make sure everything's utilized, make sure that you're sharpening your skills as a person, you're growing, that's whole sort of purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I feel I find commonality in podcasting in that, because
Sure.
that's always what I'm trying to do in here, is learn something or
For sure.
change my perspective. And boy, has the Bison at Ingalls Wing Ranch changed my perspective
Right on.
on just field dressing in general, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We could also you can have a flashback being like, yeah. But it's genuinely, it's no joke. It's a lot of weight to move around and just mass. Like, it's different than a deer or even a nice elk. I mean, it's a lot of mass
it's a ton of mass
to hold a leg.
Especially Stubbs, man. Shout out, dude. Like,
Stubbs. Forever.
Anybody deserves a shout out. I'll never forget that name.
Yeah.
Ever again.
2,400
Like,
pounds,
I want
man.
to call the barbecue spot and tell them, take your fucking name down, dude. You are not Stubbs, bro.
Yeah.
No, but I guess kind of my question for you in that whole little spiel is, you spend more time in the backcountry than anybody I know.
Right on.
Do you always find yourself like, this is enough, or like, I need to go further, or I still need to sharpen my skill on this? Or is it like,
Absolutely.
do you ever find that complacency has gotten you in trouble, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole mix of different things kind of I come across. Like, every environment poses new challenges, whether it's, food or water or a form of shelter. And I think that's kind of what I truly enjoy about it, is you can have plenty of resources and tools, but what am I going to learn? What experience am I going to gain from this single day, or these next 3 days, or this next week? And I think for me, that builds into kind of my foundation of experiences and understanding. So in like the last mule deer hunt, didn't have any archery tags, so I used a rifle. No big deal. Don't tell anyone. No, but so like I told Missy, I'm like, all right, I'm bringing no food out here. I want my hunt drive to be high, because I know I have an advantage with a rifle. And what I need to do is I need to like level that playing ground. And by bringing no food, no means of regaining energy. If I could find something to eat, I will, but I will not be bringing, any food. And she's like, okay, she's fine with that. But it's those sort of challenges. Even when I feel like I have the advantage, I try to find opportunities to kind of disadvantage or create that kind of that problem or that chaos. Because when we work through the problem solving, that's really when you're learning,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of my focus when I do go in the bush, because I've been doing it for a while, where, even using stone tools, it provides me certain advantages, certain disadvantages. So I can bring a steel knife, but I'd rather bring stone because it makes it harder. And then one step beyond that is not to bring anything and just say, all right, what can I create out here to cut, to chop, to slice? What opportunities present themselves? And then from there is when I'm learning, oh man, I never thought about, in the winter, this type of hardwood, when broken and pushed over in a small diameter, I can take that and, grind it up against a rock and create myself an edge. That edge will allow me to press into a softer wood. And from that softer wood, I can start to create a divot or, a step sort of hand drill to create a fire. It's that. I like the problem solving. And I think the only way to really create those problems is to, take away any advantages. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to, drive my car 14 hours in the Chihuahua Desert. But once I get there, I'm only going to have a bottle of water. I know where water is. I'm going to have to go and get it. It's, 4 or 5 miles that way as it moves downhill to this little pooling area that just kind of has a natural sump.
So like kind of going with no backup either, or like,
yeah.
So knowing that you don't have 2 gallons in your truck or something.
No way. No way. No way, man. I mean,
I love it, man. You're a different kind of individual, because like I don't think many people, this kind of goes back to that comfort thing. Like a lot of the people that I know, they go camping, but they bring everything to make them comfortable. Like I do, included.
There's nothing wrong. But you're camping.
I mean, when I came up to the butcher thing.
Yeah, but you're camping.
Yeah.
You're supposed to. Because at that point, camping, you want to have fun when you're camping. If
you were going out to try to survive.
Yes, there's a difference.
And you show up in your Nemo tent, your Nemo bag, and your Nemo sleeping bag.
Cameras spun that way. Steaks and coolers over there.
Craft services,
exactly. It's different. And I try to express to folks, like, you know what, when I go camping, well, you're going camping. Like if you're going with your family and friends, like you're going camping. That's not about saying, how can I be? You can make a bow drill fire that night and use all the things. That's just practice. But you're camping. The objective is different. If you're going out to challenge yourself to go in the bush for the next, let's just say 3 days, what must I have? All right, I must have some form of water. Well, bring that. All right, I must have a form of shelter. All right, well, the temps are going to be in like the 65, 70s at night. Get rid of the shelter and build something. Sleep in a pile of leaves. Sleep up against some heated rocks. If you don't kind of experiment, you'll never really kind of understand that capability. I probably will never find myself in like a real survival situation.
Well, I mean, that was kind of my question. Have you ever been like, fuck, I went too far, or I fucked up? And
two Junes ago. So there's a school down in Longmont called the Laughing Coyote Project. They do a lot of homeschool and they're focused on kids. So Neil Ritter, his wife, the whole crew there, absolutely great. So Neil asked me, I'm bringing a group of like 13-year-olds to 18-year-olds out. I'm looking for kind of a remote location. I know you've been out, and this is, the McKinnis, Grand Junction. Yeah. That whole area. He's like, I know you've been out there. You got any spots? I'm like, I got some great spots. A couple, you have to swim across the Colorado River and then walk into the canyons.
It's a pretty big river.
It's pretty big. It's decent. You can build some rafts. But I'm like, I know there's spots where you can drop from the top and you go down and then you can meet the Colorado water, so on and so forth. But I'm like, I'm not 100% sure because I've only walked in, coming across the river instead of coming down. So let me go out there. I'll scout it for you. So Donnie, it's June. It's hot. I park at the top of this finger, and it's probably like a 3-mile hike down to the lip of this canyon. I get to this canyon. You kind of have to crawl through a hole, and then there's an old kind of like 2-step ladder that's just made out of like juniper. You walk down that and you kind of shimmy down this cliff and you kind of come into this big bowl. And having been at the bottom of that canyon, I know that there's been water down at the bottom. And typically water runs downhill. We all know that, seeks the naturally lowest point. But I also know there's a spring at the top. So I get into the bottom of this canyon, and it is kind of, I didn't even bring Finn because this canyon is not, the best canyon, but it's doable for, an adventure, so to speak. But it's a lot to get down there. So I get to the top. I'm like, the spring's dry. That's unusual. And I keep in mind I have, those water bottles that, what are they called? Smart water bottles, I think they're like kind of long. I had one of those, and I probably have about a half a bottle of water. I have no knife. I have nothing else. I just have it tied around my waist, my green hat, my sandals, and like a hemp shirt because I like to wear hemp. It keeps you nice and cool. So spring's dry. I'm like, all right, well, let's keep walking down and see where there's water pooled up, whether it's in sand or it's just a pocket. And I keep walking, and I keep walking, and I keep walking. Eventually, I get to the spot where I can see the river, and I'm like, there's no way these kids can come down here. There's just not enough water. So I turn around and come back, and I start walking up. And I'm moving still in the canyon at that point, and I'm kind of hugging shade. I'm finding shade. I'm taking some breaks. My water's already been kicked, and I'm like, all right, you're good. You know what to do. Stay calm. I start taking off, my shirt. So when I'm in the shade, I'm nice and cool. I'm just trying to stay cold. But when I get to the base of the canyon, I have to start going up, and I got to shimmy through all these rocks. The heat has just been cooking them all day, and they're just radiating heat.
It's like a freaking oven.
Oh, it's an oven. Total oven. So as I'm shimmying along this rock ledge, and I'd say it's probably like, that wide, enough to get by comfortably. You just kind of go carefully. And I get back to that ladder, and as soon as I get back on the top, the heat just increases even more. And I start getting tunnel vision where I'm starting to black out like,
Oh, no, yeah, it starts getting narrow.
It starts getting narrow, and I'm like, okay, you're definitely dehydrated. You're done sweating, and you've got a handful of miles to get back to your truck. And I don't have anything in my truck except for like one Gatorade bottle that was like probably...
Hopefully you didn't pee in it.
No, it was like the worst Gatorade. It was horrible. But so as I start moving kind of back uphill, I just start dry heaving. I start throwing up, and I'm like gagging, throwing up, where like you throw up and you take some in, and then you're coughing. And there's nobody out there, zero people. I'm like, holy shit, is this it? And I'm like, no. Don't be a puss. And the Marine Corps comes in my head. I start thinking about everyone in my life. And I'm like, you got this. Move from shade to shade. And I knew if I could go from like 30 feet, find a little piece of sage that was big or an old juniper and just find a little pocket of shade, and I could move from shade. It wasn't going to do anything for me. Zero. It might cool me down just a smidge, but it was all mental because shade is relief. It keeps you cool.
But you're kind of playing the clock at that time, so you can't just wait till dark, right?
I can't wait till dark. Like I kid you not, like, you know that test where you pull the skin up on your hand? Like mine was just like taking like seconds to slowly drop. There was nothing left really in my system.
Wow.
I had already peed orange. Like I was in bad shape. Because again, I was anticipating there being water at that spring, and that spring was just completely empty. So long story short, I moved from shade to shade to shade to shade the whole way back to my truck. And like by the time I got to my truck, like there was times like it would completely go black, and I would just have to like shake my head and kind of like stand up and move my legs. And you know when you take a knee or you're like squatting down, you kind of cut that blood flow off. Every time I would stand up, I'd get this huge head rush, take a couple steps back. And there was a handful of times I kind of like fell over. But once I got to my truck, I like instantly, the one thing you don't want to do is slam something to drink. I slammed the rest of that Gatorade.
I would have too.
Threw it all back up and pretty much laid in the shade next to my truck until it got cooler in the night. And I was just like, you can't die. You can't die here. You have nothing to drink. Maybe somebody comes. Awesome. You don't want to be like the dude that's like, does this stuff and then dies out there.
Well, I've run across people on a trail like this before multiple times.
It happens.
Yeah.
It definitely happens. So I knew I was in bad shape, but I also knew as long as I don't move and I stay cool, I should be able to wait for that sun to drop. The temps will drop, and I should be able to gain a little bit of, because it's the mental of the sun dropping, knowing it's going to be cool. The temps will actually drop. And so, you know, keep in mind from that shade.
How far of a drive did you have from there?
It was probably like 14 or 15 miles. I mean,
okay,
it was
so a ways.
It was a good haul to get like to this one road that was a hardball road, and there's nothing.
Shit,
up there.
the gas station closes at 10, dude.
I know, man. But and I was hoping that as I was driving out down this canyon, maybe I could find a stream or something just to boil some water. I'm like, there's no way you can make a fire right now. Like, you're completely smoked. Long story short, I eventually, once the lights kind of went down and it kind of cooled down, I jumped in my car and I started up and turned on the AC. And the reason I didn't want to put the AC on in the very beginning was it's going to blow hot air, and I could be screwed if I wind up sitting in this thing for the next 4 hours and fall asleep because it's nice and cool. Gas runs out, any number of problems. So I'm like, just try to be naturally cool. And then on the drive out, turned it on, went to a gas station, got some water, and sat in this gas station parking lot for probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just sipping on water, slowly rehydrating, eating some food. But like that day, I honestly, when I got to the very top and I crawled out from those oven baked rocks, I thought I was like, this is it right here. Yeah, and as somebody who's had a heart attack who needs to stay hydrated, I thought like, fuck, this is bad. This is really, really, and I wasn't like, all right, get ready to write a note. But there was a point where I was like, get ready to pull your wallet out and stick it up in a tree. Because I was like, you know, if coyotes or a mountain lion comes around, he's going to drag your body. Yeah. So pull your wallet out, stick it up in a tree, tie something, like stick your hat into it. So somebody will come along and be like, oh, man, there's a wallet in here and there's a hat and there's a body 600 yards, or, you know. But, like, those are the things you kind of play with. And I was like, man, it was a real situation, but that was my own negligence and confidence, thinking like, you know there's water running through here. There wasn't any. I should have had more. I mean, it was the nature of the game, but you know, you come out on top.
Damn, dude. Well, I'm glad you're still here.
No worries. It happens.
Yeah. No worries.
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't learn anything. No.
What's, because you've told me some pretty crazy stories. I can't remember what we've talked about on mic and off of mic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories of all time that I've regurgitated to so many people is you stealing backstraps off a mule deer off of a lion kill.
Yeah, man.
Right? Off of a fresh lion kill.
Yeah, it was fun.
The balls on you, man. That's awesome.
Well, I had those SF guys.
Yeah. You gotta have some balls in.
You gotta do it. So.
I get a little tougher when I'm around you. I get a little tougher when I'm around like some of my operator friends, you know, like I'm willing to take more risks. Yeah. That's for sure. You know. But
controlled risks.
What's the wildest thing you think has ever happened to you back there? Like, doesn't even have to be close calls, but
I mean,
I know these are hard questions to answer, because if somebody asked me like, what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you? You know, like,
wildest. I mean, there's been like run-ins with moose. I mean, injury-wise, I remember once I was out in the collegiate peaks, and, you know, in those high peaks, there's some really great fishing. And I was walking this trail, which I mean, you should stay on trails, but there's a lot of times where, like, I don't like to go on trails. And I didn't have any shoes. I was in straight loincloth mode. I had this little buckskin bag, not like the one you typically see me in, but it was more like a quiver, just some basic stuff. And as I'm walking on this trail, I find the only piece of glass, and it slices right between my big toe and that next toe, probably like a good, like, I don't know, maybe like half an inch. And there's just blood coming out. That's like the split, you know. And it hurt like a son of a gun. And I had walked all the way out and had done, you know, everything I wanted to do. But I hit that split like right at the very top on the way down. And it was probably like a good 8 or 9 mile walking on like this 1 foot in a loincloth. And as I'm walking down, there's this guy and this gal walking up. And they're like, oh, what the? I'm like, hey.
Donnie in a loincloth, bleeding.
With a bleeding foot, like wrapped up in like willow and like pieces of leather. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, where are you guys going? They're like, but are you okay? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about me. And they're like, well, we're looking to fish. And so like, I totally like disregarded like everything. I was kind of, the whole situation was just trying to point them to this great like fishing location. And I don't know if
nice guy, dude.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever made it, but like at that point, I didn't really assume that anything that was going on with me was wrong. Like that was just where I was, how I was, and I was okay with it. And I think probably for them, that might actually be their wildest experience where they're like, we saw this dude.
Oh, I'm sure.
Honey, we are not fishing there.
How many people, because I've heard stories of you like walking up on hunters,
yeah,
you know, with like their coffee cup or whatever, and like they're like, what the fuck? They thought it was Sasquatch or something, right? Like, so
there's been several times.
Because I run across people all the time when I'm bow hunting in the backcountry. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing
here?
8 miles back here on your mountain bike with your JBL speaker strapped to the handlebars. God. Like, dude, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, man. It totally happens. I mean, I just remember these 2 hunters, full camo, their bows, Starbucks coffee cups, and then there's me with my otter quiver and a pair of shorts. And I'm like, what's up? You know, hey guys, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, you guys see anything? Get the hell out of here. You're kind of screwing up my hunt. But yeah, you come across them. And I mean, my camp was like several miles coming the way that I was, and it was just a big pine bough leaf bed, sleeping into it, a little bit of fire and rock salt, and that's, you know, all it was. I mean, you come across people. I think there's been people probably, you know, I've been swimming in a creek or a stream or a lake, and I guarantee you someone's been like, what is that? Oh my God, there's a guy down there, you know. It happens, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it, is kind of less is more. And I've said it, like nature can really provide. I have trouble thinking that, you know, if I go hunting carrying like a 90-pound pack with all of my resources, that becomes the burden. And like, I know there's resources in there that you can use. And there are times when I'll bring aids, but at a certain point, it just kind of takes away. It takes away from that kind of like struggle, that challenge of, you know, trying to approach on an elk. Or,
man, it's all right,
you know,
not to eat for a couple days too.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's totally fine.
Man, like
totally fine.
Especially if you practice that. Yeah, you know, if you practice some like intermittent fasting and stuff like that, because like I've gone out with some people that I've hunted with and stuff before, and they're like, "Man, I'm fucking starving." I'm like, "Dude, it's noon,
day one." You know? Well, I'll put it to you. Let's say you shoot something. What's the first thing you eat on that animal with no fire?
Bone marrow, bro. Let's go.
It's number one snack, and fats and fuels right off.
You know, even though I might have had a little bit of a hangover that morning. It was a great time, man. That was an incredible time. But great people too. Everybody that was out there was just fucking blew me away.
Good crew.
Blew me away. The students, especially, because I don't think you realize how grueling that is until you actually putting your hands on it and actually trying to use one of these rocks to cut through, you know, fur, hair, just deep.
You took the lead on this one. I remember. I was chatting with Missy. I was like, Bobby's like, he's on this one. Like, you were directing people around, not like directing, but like they were like, Bobby, we're, and you're like, here, lift this up and cut.
Well, they
here.
started asking me because,
but I was like,
I stood back and held my mouth for like the first hour. I was like, fuck, I don't want to like fuck up these people's experience.
But there's no way you could.
Yeah.
There's no way. But like, I remember mentioning to Marissa, I'm like, Bobby is like, he's killing this one. Like like, it was very much like,
I don't
obviously
know.
he's
Something
done it.
happens to me. I think it's that, 120,000 generations of people that, this has changed my perspective on how Native Americans would have approached a bison hunt and what they would have taken in the time manner, dealing with all the different elements of apex predators and not even Native Americans. I should say paleo people now because you've changed my perspective on that. I think so many people relate arrowheads to, 200 years ago of Native Americans running around fighting each other in war and hunting buffalo and that sort of like glamorized period of it, that Dances of the Wolves era, right? Like that.
Yeah.
But then you think back to like more like a Paleolithic, and correct me if I'm fucking any of this up.
Yeah.
Era where you have like short-faced bears and dryer wolves and fucking dude, a dryer wolf skull is like half of this table, bro.
Huge.
And like as big as a normal bison skull now. Like,
absolutely.
So imagine that sort of predator running around and like we all know, like if you've hunted in grizzly country, how fast and the senses that these animals have to smell and sound and wind and like to the point, I have some uncles that live up in northern Montana that hunt. I mean, they're religious hunters. They're the guys that taught me to hunt.
Right on.
And they've said that even the grizzly bears in northern Montana are almost like trained to gunshots now. So when they hear a gunshot, they'll just come fucking barreling in.
Come barreling.
Yeah, because they know that there's a food source there, right? Like they're opportunists. So I highly doubt that men were not opportunists at that point and just going for the whatever they'd.
Yeah.
If it was the eyeball that tasted the best, you guarantee that's the first thing you're going for. You don't go into the grocery store to buy a bunch of shit you don't want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You go for what you're looking for, what you desire.
Yeah.
Right.
What's accessible?
Yeah, what's accessible, what's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think we have all these fast food joints nowadays, dude? It's
in us.
Yeah, it's in us to get the fastest amount of substance, and and maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's how I've related it. So I guess I've always, whenever I've had an animal down, I think it's because of the influences that I grew up with that taught me how to hunt, was always like, the meat is the most important thing. Yeah. Preserve the meat first. Make sure it's cool. Get that animal gutted. Don't leave the guts in it. Like, let's get them out. Let's get that meat cooling. It was always about the meat.
Sure.
And making sure that you preserve the meat or cure the meat the best that it could possibly be so it tasted good. Because I tell you what, there's nothing worse than eating a deer that's been like spoiled because of time or anything. And you can't throw it away. No. It's illegal to throw it away.
Process it up.
It has to be processed for human consumption. Yeah. Right. So I think that just me naturally over, 20 years of hunting or something, I'm all about time. And when you're facing a bison butcher using nothing but stone tools, and not only that, a Stubbs, 100% plains bison that's 2,400 pounds.
It's no joke.
It was just like, I realized how time sensitive it was. And I honestly knew, like, going into this, I planned for the next day and I thought, oh, we'll be done by noon. Not even close enough, dude. Like, so, and I had that ground truth or that experience of doing the first one with you where I was like, okay, he's not so big, it's bigger than an elk, but like, and knowing the amount of time that you, me, and Dr. Devin and Marissa was there. Who else was there?
Devin's wife, Autumn. Yeah. John Whitaker.
So 6 of us, right?
Yeah.
7 hours or something, I think it was, from when we started cutting to like pulling away in the trucks. Or
It was about 7-8 hours, and we had more daylight because it was June at that time.
That's the thing too. We were running the clock on this one.
This one was. I mean, We doubled the size. I mean,
so I hope I didn't get too barky or offend anybody, but I was like, there was a point where it was just like, guys, we got to go. I can't show you anymore. Give me that.
Yeah. Well, it was perfect because it was like, I mean, you know how to clean animals and how to butcher them out, but it was awesome to like see you kind of like, all right, let me show you guys something. Yeah. Like, oh, this is all, you know what I mean? Like, especially using the tools.
Bro, that was the next level though. But just like trying to get in and get, you know, to the back of the tenderloins or something, are literally like shoulder deep, dude. Like you can't. It's megafauna.
It really is.
It is megafauna. So I can't even imagine, you know, a mammoth or like some of these other things that we think that they hunted or we know that they hunted because of archaeology or paleontology. It's like. It's fucking mind blowing, bro.
And like you think of,
we're so soft. We're so soft.
We are in certain ways. Yeah. But even the bison that we butchered is probably half the size of the actual bisons, like Bison antiquus. And some of the other bisons.
Yeah, they're huge,
monsters, straight up monsters. So you think, all right, 6 people kill one, and let's say it is 4,800 pounds. Let's say 5,000 pounds. How much are they taking? What's their priorities? Where are they going with it?
They don't have freezer chests like you and I do. They don't have, you know, pickups to put it in and drive it home. They don't have. Yeah, it's just mind blowing.
Because I was talking with Devin like after we did ours. I'm like, so how many people typically roamed in a group when we think about like Paleo, you know, Indians 10, 12, 15,000 years ago? And he goes, we have estimates from 10 to 100. And I'm like, so we really don't know. He goes, it's hard to determine. He goes, we can find ancient camps and stuff. But he goes, it's hard to give an exact number on specific groups, times. And he goes, you could have a camp 5 miles over here and hunters out, you know, another 5 miles away for a total of 10 miles. They're going to take priority foods. Hopefully scavengers will get to it, but then they could go back and resource other things like the bone marrow and horns and skulls, you know. It's just
it makes sense why they're nomadic.
Yeah.
100%, right? Like
follow your food
and then process it. Yeah. I guess as safely as you could with apex predators close to camp. And, you know, like it just blows my mind when you start thinking about the creatures that were alive back then and the mammals and like just the environment.
Yeah. That's the difference. I mean, think of like
it's fascinating.
Short-faced bear was like 12 feet. Monstrous size,
like way bigger than a polar bear. Show up the bear comparison.
Yeah,
there's some great like illustrations out there of
short-faced bear,
like bear sizes. Okay, so that's just to polar bear. What we have currently.
Go short-faced bear. Show.
Oh, that one all the way on the right there. It's comparing it to a polar bear, dude.
Yeah,
look at that one. Is that like stuffed or something?
Right here. Looks like it's like a remake of something.
Yeah.
That's no joke. I mean, you can look at the one that's kind of drawn and see just how much bigger it is by feet and probably mass.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But it's a whole factor.
So 11 foot. So a short-faced bear could be anywhere of like to 14 feet almost, like 13.9 or something.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. If anybody, I'll tell you what. It really, like no other place has put me in perspective than encountering bears in the backcountry, like big bears.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference when you see one that's like the size of a dog. It's not as intimidating, but like a big bear, like a grizzly or something. I've never seen a polar bear firsthand. That's a bucket list, is to go photograph
a polar bear.
Polar bears up in Norway or something like that would be so badass. Just to be there and see that.
Yeah, even seeing a grizzly at distance, you're like,
God
damn, what? It's a monster. I mean, they'll eat you. They really. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that puts it in perspective like that. The ocean's the same way.
Yeah,
like when I would be out like paddleboarding and like. We would go out when the gray whales were migrating.
Oh, cool.
And, you know, kind of like maybe a mile out from the shore. And those things, it's weird the connection that humans have with like
whales.
Yeah. It's so weird. Like it's almost like there's a communication thing there. But those whales would swim underneath your paddleboard and you're just like, Holy fuck, dude. Like
that size.
You know, and they're swimming like upside down, like looking at you like, hey, fucker.
And
like,
they're not disturbing you on the water up on the top, which trips me
Which
out.
they could just kill you.
Yeah. They move underneath you, but you're like, I'm not, in a swell or anything unless they want to, and you're like, God damn, man. It's pretty intense.
Have you ever seen orcas?
I've seen.
That's another bucket list for me. Is like there's
in Alaska near like Ketchikan, Skagway, kind of that like southern area of Alaska. I've seen a lot of whales like in Hawaii, but not like orcas or killer whales or anything like that in Hawaii, but just up in Alaska.
Yeah, my buddy Luke was in here the other day because they were recording a podcast of their own, and he's a full-time fishing guide up in Alaska.
Right on.
Does like all kinds of salmon stuff. But he lives here. But he was just telling us some stories about like the orca pods and stuff that they run into. Like, and I'm like, God, I want to go just for that. Like, I really have no desire to go salmon fishing, but like, to get on an orca pod or something and just see like those 7 foot. They have like 7 foot dorsal fins and like. I guess their connection with humans is pretty incredible too.
Yeah.
Like there's
a lot of Native American stories of like, somebody's out kayaking and they're, going after seals or something and they fall in the water and orcas like help them bring them back to land or something.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
wow.
There's quite,
I don't think there's any recorded attacks of an orca.
No attacks, but like how orcas have helped like save like specifically up in like Pacific Northwest all the way up into like Alaska. Like there's a big, significance with the orca whale as kind of like a totem animal or like a guide animal. Or when you see him, you're protected when you're fishing.
Those totems are so cool.
Yeah.
I got to show you. You haven't seen my canoe, have you?
No.
Oh, okay. I got a canoe that's all, it was done by a native guy, artist, and it's got an orca on the side. It's super cool. It's all like totem style. It's white with black. Yeah,
that's cool.
I love it, dude.
I love watching these. Like,
it's so cool, man.
Orcas hunting seals and stuff.
Oh, dude, they're so smart.
I'm so bummed out for the seals. It's like, oh man, they don't have a chance. They got those stupid flippers.
I know.
You can't do anything with them.
But seeing like 3 orcas like swim in unison and then wave their tails at once to break like the ice. I mean, you can't beat that.
Dude, sea lions have put me in my place too, like trying to surf.
Oh yeah, I've never encountered.
Dude, this
they got
one
some teeth on them, don't they? Like,
they're literally like a pit bull.
No shit.
But way bigger. And their canines are like
huge.
It's crazy. They're like that.
Holy cow.
They're just and they stink, bro.
Eating
and
fish.
They like to fuck with people.
Really?
Like, yeah, I've had them fuck with me a few times before.
Good. You see these?
They're very doggish. Like a lot of dog mannerisms where it's like, kind of sizing you up, like a dog in attack mode a little bit. Like
kind of eyeing you.
Yeah. But they can swim so fast.
Yeah, that's what blows my mind, man. You see them. I mean,
humans are
fish.
So out of their element in the water, man.
I know. I mean, I've been spearfishing plenty of times, and I've been, deep sea fishing and various means. And sometimes, man, I just look over the side. I'm like, I got nothing. I'm smoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I was, not that if I fell and I wouldn't be able to swim but I'm like, man, there could be anything in there. Just 200 feet down with excellent vision, just waiting for something to, even like when you see those tuna, sharks. I mean, I don't know, man. The thing that trips me out are those giant squids, especially when you see like the scars on the whales and those like sucker cups are like the size of a basketball from like the wounds of them fighting giant squids, 8,000 feet below water.
Dude, one of the scariest things to me, and there's been people that have been attacked by them. Have you ever heard of a cookie cutter shark?
No.
Oh my God, dude. This is the freakiest fucking. It's basically a parasite of the ocean.
Really?
But it has these teeth that are like round and they go around like a circular saw. Because they spin.
Yeah.
And it literally, this will kill great whites. It just drills a hole right through them and just eats.
No
like
kidding.
a core drill. And they've attacked people where they have like perfectly round things. And I guess they're super fast and they live like, they either swim straight up or straight down. So their prey never sees them coming. They're just going and intersecting. Looks like a dick with teeth. Dude.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's a nightmare. It looks like an alien.
Yeah, fuck those things, dude. They've gotten a bunch of swimmers. Pull up human attacks on So they're not very big, right? I think they're only like 3 feet or something, but still.
What the hell?
Yeah, like at least a great white, you could maybe see it coming. Yeah, look at
that.
it's just a perfect hole too. And they don't stop, dude. They go through bone. I guess their teeth are so sharp that they'll just go through bone and cartilage.
Where are these at?
All over the ocean.
I want to avoid them.
No bueno.
All over the ocean,
no
bro.
No bueno.
But I think most of them are like open water
Okay.
type scenarios. So like they're not going to be, because they like to live super deep. That's why they're so dark. And I guess they just go, oh, dude, I can't look at that anymore. Take it down,
God.
Jeremy.
Oh my God.
Try plugging that hole.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy. Like the ocean is so insane.
I know.
Like when you start looking at like those deep water like creatures, they are very they're as close to aliens.
Oh, they are aliens when you're there.
Yeah.
I swear to God they are.
Like some of them light up and have like lures and just
no way.
Animals are crazy, dude.
There's these like I think crabs or squid that have these super long legs. They look like a star or something. And you'll see like photos in those deep sea like submersibles, and you're like, what the hell? Like, what does that do? Like, what is its significance on this planet? You know? And I'm like, what the hell is this thing, man? Like, yeah, you don't know what's down there.
Or just an octopus, like, you know, their camouflage changing capabilities. And
that's
stuff.
Cool. Like that's
so badass.
That's like the smartest.
Like the military doesn't have that technology. Well, that we know of.
Yeah,
doesn't have that technology to instantly change.
But they'll like jump onto some coral, change color, and like some predator swims on by, and then they're like, all right, it's gone, I'm out. I mean, they're probably smarter than us. I have no doubt.
I would think so.
I have no doubt. To be able to do that,
there was some aquarium. It might have been in Dallas or something, where they kept missing. I forget. They were missing some sort of species of fish, and they found out that the octopus was opening its fucking cage, going out, murking these fish, and then coming back before like the janitors came in through to clean or some shit. Dude,
see, that's
like,
intelligence, right?
It's
there.
badass.
That is
and they only, you know what's crazy is their lifespan is only like 8 years or something.
Really?
Yeah. Look up the lifespan of an octopus too, Jeremy, when you're done.
Man, that's crazy.
So badass.
It's like it changes texture almost.
Yeah, texture, color. That's just.
I did see a military thing one time where they had like this fiber optic camouflage on a tank.
Okay.
So it reflected whatever was on the other side of it. So it was basically all you saw was like the predator outline.
Oh,
it was like,
yeah.
whoa,
It was like
that's
somewhat
crazy.
visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no
Who
joke.
knows though? That was on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
Those guys are full of shit on a lot. I hope I'm not offending anybody that you know, but like,
no, you're golden.
like they did this thing. What caught me onto it was, well, we were actually dealing with the ocean.
Yeah.
They did this thing on Megalodon. But it was like this whole scripted show that wasn't even like.
So it was like a.
Yeah, they said that like some people had died on like a fishing boat or something in Cape Town.
And they're seeing if Megalodon was responsible.
Yeah, and then there was like this whole thing, but it was all like scripted.
Dude, that's Great White Central
for TV.
down there.
Yeah,
1 to 5 years.
1 to 5 years.
Yeah.
No
1 to
kidding.
5.
Yeah.
Is that
And
is that
because of the breeding, the reproductive strategy known as semiparity, meaning that octopuses breed only once in their lifetime and die shortly after.
dude,
that sucks.
I feel bad for him, dude.
Romantic.
It's good to eat though. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Friggin' delicious, dude.
Otaka, bro, bring it on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like octopus. That's the way to do it.
Man, that's crazy, man. I swear, you know, humans and animals. I think we have a lot more connected than people realize.
Yeah.
Like just a dog, you know,
Yeah.
like it's fascinating to me what my dog knows and what she can sense and that sort of thing. And then I had it this year hunting, chasing elk around.
Yeah.
Where we were on this bull and he just like super smart. It was where we were hunting bordered a lot of like private land. So he knew his limitations of where he could come in and out and knew those boundaries like really, really well. And then the couple times that we did catch him out, I didn't experience this firsthand, but my brother did.
Yeah.
He was like, he would put himself in situations where his vitals were covered the entire time. So like literally like cover his vitals.
Yeah.
And like look around a tree to see,
Interesting.
you know, what was going on. Is that really a cow or is that a cow? is that a human?
Yeah.
You know, like just
and you think
wicked smart.
You think he sensed that there was humans there?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I give into it like 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's in the like the natural world between like trees and foliage and microterrain and terrain, like there's a lot of cases where it's like, does he think that we're there? And then you start to find reasons why he does. Well, he's totally hiding his vitals. But if he took one step to the left, you got a clear shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we look for some of those things to kind of like justify why it is. It's not saying that it isn't, but like I'm kind of a skeptic at first until I would like witness something. Like with me and my dog, I think my dog knows my mannerisms because he knows my mannerisms the same way as my kids.
Well, they're just like, think if you just watched, it would be really creepy. But if you just watch somebody constantly, and that's what, when I walk in the room, my dog, I'm like full attention. Like, dude, are we gonna fucking play ball, or like I'm just gonna watch you until we do? Yeah, or like that sort of thing. Just that hyper focus.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. Sometimes I feel like dogs know, like there's certain aspects like being a dog owner. When your dog gets up, if they sense something, someone coming to the door, they did, they heard something when you didn't, or when you're getting ready to lay down, they kind of like, all right, he's laying down. No, I'm going to lay down. We're in kind of relaxed mode. So I think there's a lot of like body language and cues. I wouldn't say anything like telepathically. I would say there's a lot of like,
oh, it's definitely like, it's all about emotion, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like a emotion. So like, if I'm not in a calm state, my dog won't be.
Exactly.
It's like, have you ever dealt with horses at all?
Yeah, horses.
Horses can sense it crazy, man.
Very
Like,
much so.
the worst thing you can do is get on a horse and be nervous.
Yeah.
Like, they can like sense it.
Think of like a canine handler.
Yeah.
All they do is train to, take down or do their specific tasks. But they know as soon as they come out of that car and they're on a leash, they're like in game mode. But if I was to put a canine, dog in a regular car and put him on a leash, would he key into those same sort of things, those safe movements?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
You know what I mean? So
I think it's a relationship built over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where, it's interesting. I mean, like, I know, like, between birds and, animals, but, like, where I lose my belief in it is when, like, someone has a lion and then that lion eats him one day. Or a chimpanzee.
Dude, Barth the bear.
Barth the bear.
Have you ever heard the story about that?
He's the movie bear.
Yeah, I think he lived here in Evergreen for a while.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. But he was like the most famous Hollywood bear.
Yeah.
Like he was in
like Great Outdoors, The Edge. Like
The Edge, yeah. I'm trying to White Fang, right?
Yeah,
didn't he have a scene in White Fang?
I think so. He's that bear that just roar.
But I think he ate his owner at one point, dude.
50-50, man. Yeah. Like your dog.
That's too big. Your dog would eat your ass if you died in your apartment, for sure.
50-50.
Yeah. People get eaten all the time by their dogs.
Yeah, dogs and their cats. You know what I mean? You think about any animal that you have, like it has an innate.
Oh, they're opportunists.
Thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see videos, someone leaves a turkey leg on the counter, so I'm going to take that turkey leg because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Now imagine like, Chihuahuas. I don't know about the feasibility, but if I died in my house and had a Chihuahua and it was hungry, I'd be like, well, I know that's the next thing right there, and start eating my fingers and away you go, But I do think like sometimes like when you see animals outside, whether it's a moose, a bear, an elk, they know you're there.
I think it's that sort of like the calmer I've been, the more, and I'm curious to see if you have the same sort of feeling. The calmer I am in a hunting situation, the more success I tend to have.
For sure.
Because I feel like they can sense that nervousness just like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's those sort of senses. That's where I think is my 50 leaning towards it. But it's you have to get pretty close for them to be able to sense it. And that's where I think a lot of archery shooters, I mean, some of the rifle, 250 yards out, they're going to know you're there through any number of reasons. But I'd be like, it's not a threat because proximity is the threat.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. If you're trying to get within bow range.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I always, kind of go back and forth on it because I think they can, but I also think they're also an animal. And if it came down to it, they would put a set of horns through you.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Bite your leg off. Each if you had to. And like Tiger King.
It really is survival of the fittest out there. I mean, when it comes down to it, like, I'm surprised more people are not gored by elk.
Yeah.
Than probably are, especially when you put them in a calling situation in the middle of the rut.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy calling when I'm hunting. Like, that bugling is like part of like that Majestic. Just, it's fucking cool, man. Like, it's like one of my favorite parts.
You know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the alarm of hunting. You know,
yeah.
I mean? It's like, oh, now we're doing it. You know? But like, I mean, you think about anyone that calls in a big bull, that bull walks within 5 yards of them, and they put an arrow to the side. Why is that bull, if it was really able to sense us and like really like interconnect telepathically, why would it not realize the mentality and the things that are going on in that hunter's head to be like, all right, I've got my target. I'm getting ready to kill it. I'm getting ready to shoot it. Clear aim, you know. Why wouldn't they be able to sense one of the ultimate predators? A human being is high up on that predatory list. Why would they not be able to sense that kill, especially at that close of a range?
Right.
That's where like I kind of...
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, 100%.
Because even with all the camo and scent away...
Yeah, I don't think that they understand words or language or that. I don't think that they have the comprehension that we do. I think that they might be more advanced in other ways, which we know that they are in sense and as far as smell, hearing, like there's so many different variables that they have way more advantage than a human does.
Yeah, I mean, a dog that lives in Germany speaks more German than I do, so I'm gonna give them credit.
Yeah,
but yeah, they do have those senses, but I think sometimes those senses.
Have you seen those freaking dog things that they have now where like the dog pushes a button and it talks for them? So like, it'll be like, I need to go outside, take a shit, you know, or give me more food, or like, I think it's kind of crazy.
I think it's
wild.
That is. I think it's just like a form of classical conditioning. Like,
it totally is.
Just the same as you would give a child to be like, you know, when they teach babies sign language, or they know if they sit them in a high chair, you know, they stick their arms up because a little tray's coming around, like food's coming. There's forms of that kind of.
You raise a spoon, they're going to open their mouth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that's that whole thing.
It was actually Rocky the Bear.
Rocky the Bear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to besmirch.
Bart
the Bear's legacy. Yeah.
So Rocky the Bear ate his.
It's 2008. They got a little wild. And
so Bart the Bear was a bear, though, right?
Oh yeah. He was like the most famous.
Yeah.
Okay, but he never ate
this
anybody.
Guy not famous for eating people. But
well, here's the fucked up thing: when you have an apex predator that's like that with that sort of aggression, you know, like those lions and stuff, and why it's not really accepted anymore. Which I'm not accepting of it either. I don't think really any animal should be in captivity unless it's kind of for their own good.
Sure.
But a lot of times they are literally, there's a reason why the tiger trainer has a whip in his hand, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're kind of whipped into submission a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, at like a moment's notice, that lion could be like,
my God.
Not today, guy. I'm eating that ass, you know, and everyone in the audience.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Like
why
the training I got with my dog.
Yeah.
Just the little things, you know, it's just like, you have to find something that they obsess over. So like a toy. So like if you ever see most trained canines, their handlers always have some sort of toy, but it's in their possession. It's never in the dog's possession. And my dog, ever since Chris, shout out to Complete Canine that told me that, he's like, yeah, you won't even need a fucking leash anymore, dude. You take that duck from her and fucking go for a walk. I can walk by elk, dogs running up to the fence. As long as I have that in my hand, she could care less. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, I think animals can be trained. They can be conditioned to certain kind of stimuli. Their ability to like communicate with us in like a telepathic form. Like
No way.
I said, yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard. I always would like to be able to like, you know, we all watched the movie Beastmaster as a kid with like Kodo and Poto, the ferrets, and like his, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he'd have his eagle. I'm like, God, I wish I was like that. But I'm like, there's no way that's like, it's not even feasible. Like, as much as I would like to think an eagle flying over is like, I see you, brother.
Right.
It's not the case.
Falconry is fucking cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
But it's
crazy.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
More like you become the stimuli with the food. They go out and get it. They get the reward.
Yeah.
I mean, even dogs. I mean, dogs are really.
Oh, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Thing.
You're training them with reward.
Yeah.
Like that, me throwing that toy or her getting her toy is the reward at the end of it, right?
That's it.
It's like, you be good. You pay attention to me. You're going to get this, you know?
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, shit, Donnie, we're coming up, man. I don't want to take any more of your time. This has been an awesome way to bring in 200. I don't even think we got into like anything too crazy.
No,
like,
man. It was
survival-wise.
It was fun to interview you.
I love you, brother, man.
I love you too, man. This was good stuff.
We'll keep doing it. Anything you got coming up or anything you want to plug while you're on
man.
here?
I mean, aside from just
go get the book Wild Wisdom.
Yeah.
Badass read.
Book is still coming out. It's on
Yeah.
Audible. I think in the next couple months we're gonna put it to a paperback version.
Oh,
so
sweet.
that's kind of the normal process with books, hard to soft copy. Like we were talking earlier, I did open my online store. Now,
Oh, don't do it.
I know I'm gonna give it a small plug.
All right.
The thing is like people just need to have some patience because everything on there is like hand built and handmade by me, and like so I have to constantly keep it like loaded up. So if you go on there to buy some stone tools, some knives, axes, flints for a flintlock rifle, or even just parts and pieces of an animal that you might need for a knife handle, and it's not there, just keep checking.
I will tell you this, by the collection that I have on here, like as a kid, for many years, I tried to find these as artifacts on the ground. I had very little success finding a full point, and your craftsmanship is better than what you would find on the ground, dude. These are honestly beautiful, man. Like, I don't know what I would do if I found this laying on the ground, and I think these are even cooler because I know where it came from, who made it and stuff, and the one that we made together and stuff. So definitely go check that out.
Right on, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I always love having you. You know you're welcome here anytime. You're a fucking fan favorite, a maniac. We've done so much in and out of the studio, which I think is cool.
Yeah, man.
Something that we're trying to do a little bit more here, as budget allows and that sort of thing. But there doesn't always have to be a camera involved either. Like those are some of the best moments when a camera's not involved, just truly like hanging out. And that's kind of what I wanted for this episode, man. So you've been so gracious with your time and just, dude, anything we can ever do for you, man. You're a good friend.
Well, like I've told you before, I love you too, man. And you gave me a shot when nobody else would. Like,
oh, really? No, I felt the same way though.
No, I mean, like going on, like I remember coming on to like hear the very first time. Like
I think you were like episode 20.
Yeah, it was early on, and I think, I had done some like phone podcasts, but this was like one sitting in front, like in a studio.
We were the first in person.
Yeah, first one.
Dope.
So like you just give me the opportunity to kind of run my mouth about stone tools or whatever it is going on. It's always helped me out, whether it was booking classes or selling books, and just connecting with more people, because as you post more episodes, I get to learn more about people and be like, oh, I'm gonna follow this person and be like, hey man, caught you on the mountainside. Keep that's
the coolest thing
great.
Is like the community that I've kind of built, because I've tried to keep it that way, and there's some new people coming into it each year. It's kind of cool.
I mean, I started watching bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm like, I gotta learn some of this. I'm like, it's not like in a bar room, but I mean, it's just, the people that you bring on here, I think appreciate it very, very much that you give them an opportunity to kind of talk about their craft, get to learn about you. Like we dove into you today, which was, I think we're just kind of scraping the surface.
Oh, you got me. I hate talking about myself. It's so funny. I got a podcast, but it's always about who's sitting across from me. I think I've been like that in natural conversation too. I'm interested in people and what they do and their experiences, and I'm open-minded to a lot. So,
well, everyone always appreciates you, and just keep doing it, man.
Yeah, dude.
You're 200/201.
Yeah,
but
it was the best episode we ever had, dude. Someday we'll bring it out of retirement. And be like, it'll be like Tupac still releasing albums, dude.
I'll be dead
do it after we're gone. Yeah,
they'll be like, what the hell? No, man, this is great, and I do appreciate it, and I think just keep on motivating, keep on leading by example, and you'll be ready to rock.
Dude, the feeling's mutual, man. Like anybody that I've had on, it's all people that inspire me. So hopefully they inspire other people. And it's like, if it's a win-win-win,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
I don't plan on going anywhere. So I'm excited for this year and what's coming up. And man, thank you to all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Our guests for saying yes, because I know how much time it takes for you to drive an hour, then sit here with my dumb ass for 3 hours, and then, so it's mutual, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody that's been on, and the people that have listened, the supporters, sponsors, just everybody. It's just everybody's winning. So it's good. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. To the next 200, man.
Yeah, let's
Keep
go.
rocking.
All right,
brother.
2025. Here we go.
Here we do it.
Thanks, Donnie. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you, bro. Pretty good to look. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.